This is the D6 generation with your hosts, Craig Gallant.
No, cut that. Keep that. Someday it's going to be worth something.
Russ Wakeland.
You put me in an ATST with frickin' Wookiees attacking me and whatnot?
Now you're talking. And the Gen Con mob in the third chair. With contributions from Total Fangirl
Vampires do not sparkle.
and our loyal listeners.
Are you crazy? That's like 400 hours of gamer nonsense.
Welcome to another edition of the final edition of Rapid Fire, the roundtable discussion of all things gaming, coming at this crushing, grinding, irresistible, and entirely subjective speed of time. Today's edition is brought to you by every fan that ever wrote, tweeted, Facebooked, or approached us in person who has ever shared a special moment, taken humor, comfort, or consolation in our show, and especially to anyone who ever passed along that experience to us or to anyone else. If it wasn't for you all, this would have ended a long, long time ago. I'm Geekly McNerdigan, your host. Today our panelists are, as always, Daka Mouseketeer, no hater extraordinaire, and co-hostess with the mostest, rational Russ Wakeland.
Ooh.
Feel free to react.
Wow, you had to ask for that.
Wow, you
that
had
hurts.
to ask.
A little bit right here.
You know,
Not
that's
gonna lie.
kind of like
Right
when
here.
you're in a
Right here.
relationship and you have to ask for them to say I love you. You know they don't mean it. No offense, Russ. Making his return for this special bittersweet occasion is the missing man himself, the original third chair and host emeritus, Rambling Rafe Granger. Woohoo! That seemed completely genuine.
Sure, cheer for him. I see how this is.
You really automotive journalism luminary and total fangirl. I couldn't come up with an enforcer Nicole Wakeland. I tried. Nothing went and was and of course the glue that binds it all together, a raison d'être. That's French. Our very special guest, the amazing Gen Con D6G listenership mob. They didn't need any kind of cue for that.
Yeah, awesome.
Let's begin. Issue number 1. The longer you continue to do something, associate with something, or study something, the more you will notice patterns of repetition and reiteration. History repeats itself, trends recur throughout time, and the more things change, the more they stay the same. The longer one watches the gaming industry, the more games, worlds, themes, and names start to merge and blend together. What was old is new again, especially if you're old enough to forget the last time it came about. Question. We have constructed a scientifically unassailable process by which we can create a name for any new game that is created from this time forward. It takes into account the current spirit of the times, popular trends and themes. Just plug in the genre of your game, the general theme of the game, and press go. We're plugging in fantasy farming. That's for you. What name did our program create for us? Ranching Russ.
Tractors, backers.
Rainbow Rafe.
Gricka Gold.
Notionary Nicole.
Farmtopia.
Mirage Mob.
Star Eggplant is pretty good.
Eggplant.
I like that.
Star
That's why
Eggplant.
he's a game designer.
I was
folks.
going to say. That was, sadly, that is all wrong. It's Archons of Autumnal Acreage.
Yeah.
An instant classic, Steven. Mark that down. Issue number 2. Life, as they say, is full of surprises. And when folks say that, they often mean good surprises. Things like surprise parties, the gender of your child, for those who wanted that surprise, what's in the bottom of a box of Cracker Jacks and whatnot. One of my personal favorites, what is going to be in that bag as you drive away from the fast food drive-thru. But this whole outlook ignores an entire category of surprises, bad surprises. But let's not even go there. Let's delve right into the outright odd and bizarre. Question. What was the strangest surprise contained within all 242-plus standard episodes of the D6 generation? Now, to put things in perspective, that includes well over 1,000 hours of listening, well, for lack of a better word, we'll call it pleasure. Revelations Russ.
I got to go with the poll.
What?
The poll.
The poll.
The
Oh,
poll.
the poll.
Yeah, the poll. Come on. How
Rarity
did you forget
Rafe with Phil in attendance.
that? Phil, help him
The
out.
ombudsman of the poll himself.
Right.
Rarity Rafe.
The people listened after the first episode.
Unexpected Nicole.
I was going to say the poll. He stole my idea.
Yeah, no, that's okay. That's totally legitimate. And Marvel Mob.
Not too horrible. I heard not too horrible.
Not too horrible.
That's pretty surprising.
Sadly, you're all wrong, which is bizarre. Because clearly the answer is, call me Rafe Hollywood Granger. And then having that stick for 10 and a half years.
That was surprising.
That's just bizarre.
You made it stick?
Yeah. Issue number 3. Time is the indefinite continued progress of existence and events that occur in apparently irreversible succession from the past through the present to the future. It can be marked many ways by looking at a watch or a clock, a calendar, the passage of the sun, or watching all the up-and-coming whippersnappers traipsing about with their new technology and their never-ending fonts of energy. But I digress. Question. The earliest calendars were lunar calendars that would have either 12 or 13 months. How many days is there in a year with 12 lunar months? Register Russ.
Lots. Math is hard at 8 in
That's
the morning.
good. Math is hard in the morning. Yes, excellent. What do you do for a living? Record Rafe.
62.
62. Maybe you did not understand the question. Noted Nicole.
Some number greater than 1.
Greater than 1, technically. Going for the technical win, I
Yeah.
see. Oh, okay. And Menology Mob. I heard 3.
I heard 336 from Engelstein. I'm gonna go-
336
I
from
bet that's correct.
Engelstein.
I also
of
saw him
course,
using a
that's what you would
calculator.
expect. Sadly, wrong.
Oh.
354 apparently.
Ooh.
That was close.
Yeah,
like a trick question.
Technically
okay,
right.
Yeah, technically you were right, but I'm not going to give it to you.
I know you're not,
The
but
last
I'm
chance
right.
I get to say wrong. Issue number 4. Parting traditions or parting customs are various traditions, custom, and habits used by people to acknowledge the parting of individuals or groups of people from each other. Parting traditions are highly cultural, situational, and interpersonally specific and may change within a culture depending on social status and personal relationships. Parting traditions include parting phrases, parting gestures, as well as parting ceremonies and rituals of various degree of complexity. Question. In the Wikipedia entry for parting phrases, which does exist, under the subheading Phrases from Fictional Works, there are 4 examples and only 4 examples, and they come from 3 science fiction movies. What are the 3 science fiction movies noted by Wikipedia as having famous parting phrases?
I know this
Retreating Russ.
I'm going to go with Star Wars. Anything with Arnold Schwarzenegger. And The Goonies.
The Goonies.
Yes.
All right. Removed Rafe.
Star Wars, Star Trek, and I'll pick your Firefly Serenity thing.
In mine. Cool.
Wow.
You
You're going to get
won.
emails.
Those
pesky brown
I was
coats?
gonna say those checks haven't been making it to me. En route, Nicole.
I would say Star Wars, Star Trek, and I don't know a third one. I got 2. I guess 2.
Oh, not enough. Migrating
Be wrong
Mob.
anyway.
I had Schwarzenegger.
Okay, so here's the deal. Sadly, you guys just did not have enough lung capacity, apparently, which makes you wrong by 1, wrong by 1, wrong by 1, wrong by 2, because what you did was you heard all of these guys get 2 of them right and miss 1, and you just yelled out the one they missed. So, on a technicality, I'm right, you're wrong, and it was Hasta la vista, baby. And because it was 3 movies with
Right.
4 quotes, it was I'll be back. And it was live long and prosper. Only said in a fainting, dying voice.
Right, clearly.
Right?
Yes.
And may the force be with you. And if you really
Always.
want to go, always.
Get it.
All right, thanks. That's for listening. That's it for always.
Yes.
Thanks for listening, and good morning.
This episode of the D6 Generation is brought to you by Lone Wolf Development. Take your game to the next level.
And by Geek Nation Tours. Rise up and join the Geek Nation touring the world at geeknationtours.com.
And by Audible. Try the service, get a free book, and support the show. All by visiting audibletrial.com/D6G.
Hello.
What's up?
Hello.
There you
Hey,
go.
and welcome to episode 242 of the D6 Generation. I'm Russ Wakeland,
I'm Craig Gallant.
and this is the Gen Con Mob. We also have special guests today.
Are you going to introduce me, or am I just supposed
You
to
can just say hello.
I think it's intriguing because
just
he
points
said
at
that you were
I
supposed
know.
to say it before the
I know.
mob.
I wasn't listening.
See, it's all
Yeah,
improv.
Let's just
It's
pull the
8 o'clock
curtain.
in the stinking
Let's
morning.
call
Hi, I'm
Russ-
Nicole,
let's
your
call
total
Russ
fangirl.
out.
Nicole's with us, and we also have with us today.
Rafe Hollywood Granger.
Excellent. And we are excited to be here at Gen Con 2018 with the mob. Hey, mob, how you guys doing today? Awesome. And we're getting ready to start here. We're going to be doing achievements in gaming and all that great stuff. Of course, today's episode, we're going to have achievements in gaming as always. We're going to have a giant play-by-mob event, and then a later segment that Craig and I will determine at a later date.
Come up with
We'll
it.
figure that out. Well, we got all kinds of cool
I
things
mean,
to
reveal
experience
later.
here.
Reveal later. It's-
Yeah. Well, we're experiencing still cool things at Gen Con this weekend, so one of our experiences will be that other exciting segment. So first, before we get to all that, we definitely want to thank all of our patrons over at Patreon for all the years of support. And as we mentioned in a past episode, we are changing the format. It's going to be a little shorter, so we appreciate all the great support you've done for the long format show, and we hope you'll stay with us for the shorter format show. We totally understand if it make you want to change your mind after you hear that stuff, but hopefully it's still not too horrible, right, Craig?
Not too horrible is the benchmark.
Exactly. Now, Craig, if folks want to jump in and become patrons or go listen to that great Lost Chapter back catalog, how do they do that?
Well, they would go to the d6generation.com, and on the right-hand margin, they would find the Patreon button, and they could go press that. Or they could go to patreon.com and then search for the D6 Generation, and they would both bring you to the same page with a video that we would advise you not to watch. That page will explain how Patreon works. Basically, you're just giving a little tip to the show each time there's some content made. And if you pledge $2 or more per piece of content that drops, you unlock the entire vault of the Lost Chapter, which is now hundreds of hours of additional material that you can't get anywhere else. Oh, that's not true.
Seems like a lot. That's awesome. Thank you,
Yeah.
Craig.
No.
And also, there's one more bit of business we have to get to before we get to our achievements, and that is today is a very special day.
Nah. This is it. This is an ambush, by the way.
It totally
Today,
is.
it's not near. It is my daughter Rose's 16th birthday today on August 4th.
Yay.
So I won't make everyone sing you happy birthday, but happy birthday, Rose.
Oh,
Thank
he
you
was
so much.
gonna, though.
I was gonna, but I decided that would be too much. But thank you so much for everybody and for helping me wish my daughter a happy birthday. I appreciate it. And as you all know, Rose, of course, is a gamer. I'm making her sit here on her birthday through this, but it's pretty cool to be at Gen Con. She's having a great time with the rest of the family. So good times. All right. On to achievements. Craig, what's the time now for?
Achievement in gaming. It's the best I can do, man.
It is. We've got the sound back for today. There you go. Look at that. All right. And, of course, achievements brought to you by all of our fine friends and patrons throughout the years. So we really thank all of you guys so much again. We couldn't do this without all of you. So let's get right to what we've been doing and what we've been seeing here at Gen Con. And what's kind of exciting this year, normally our show is Thursday night at Gen Con. This year, we should say to our listeners at home that it's 8 a.m. on a Saturday.
And so I want you to pay an extra special attention to the energy being shown by the mob at 8 o'clock in the morning
Right.
on a Saturday.
The bonus, though, is...
We did bribe them with coffee and sugar. So.
The bonus is normally when we do the achievements at Gen Con, you're only hearing like a day of information maybe. But now the mob has been combing the con, as it were, for 2 full days now.
He does love
So
his-
you guys know,
alliteration.
you guys know what's up. You guys know the good stuff. You know what's selling out. So hoping to hear some good, juicy things that our listeners should be looking for in coming months, but also that I should go buy today is pretty much what I want to. All right. So who's got some games they saw or some things they want to talk about for board games, card games, and RPGs?
All right. Right at night. Say your first name, where you're from, and then what you saw.
Andy, South Bend, Indiana. And I saw My Little Scythe. I've been looking for some games because we just are adopting a couple kids, and they're 11 and 12. And I run a game club at my middle school that are, about 14 years old. And so most of my gaming is with younger individuals. And so, like, the regular Scythe might be a little much to try to do on a game club or with my kids. But the My Little Scythe fit really well, and my kids liked it. I'm trying to turn them into gamers. The boy I'm having more success with. He's actually entered a miniature in the painting competition and everything.
Cool.
So I think I've converted him a little bit.
Awesome. Thank you.
I got one.
Oh, and I've got number. Do we have to say the number?
No, don't.
Don't
numbers.
say the numbers.
Say them.
Don't say the numbers. But you do have to wear it. Okay.
Mike from Florida. Sorry. Tried out Keyforge from FFG. That was pretty exciting. I'm not a big card gamer, but the way they're doing that with procedurally generated decks is pretty exciting.
So how does that? Can you give everybody a little overview of how that works? 'Cause saw that and it looks kind of interesting.
Yeah, so what it is they've got this manufacturing process where every single deck that comes out has got a unique background, a unique back side of it, and it's a unique deck. There's no actual deck building in the game whatsoever. You go buy a $10 deck, that is your deck. You are the only person in the world that has that deck. So it's pretty interesting, and it's not randomly generated. It's procedurally generated by whatever manufacturing master overlord AI they have there. that creates a functional deck. Yeah, no, it was pretty cool because I suck at card games. I can't build a good deck that has good synergy. And here I've got this AI that's generating it for me, and they all work amazingly well. So that was pretty exciting.
So all the fun of blind purchase, but you have everything you need in a $10 deck.
That's it exactly.
That's cool.
Very cool.
Nelson from Louisville, Kentucky. Saw a war chest from AEG. I think the Duke and a bag builder.
Mm-hmm.
So pretty cool.
Great. Very cool.
I can hold it. Hey, I'm Scott from New Jersey. I'd like to say that CMON has a game out called Newton. Very interesting. Didn't think I'd like it, but it's got a lot of good decision making, interesting theme, and graphics are great. So impressed.
Nice.
So this is anything we've done, seen, whatever, right? So on Thursday, I got pulled into about 17 hours straight of Pathfinder. And I'm generally more of a miniatures and board gamer, and my buddies that I met. So I'm Matt Hall. I'm from Utah, and my buddies are from Pennsylvania, and we're meeting up here. And they were like, "Hey, we're gonna play some Pathfinder." Okay, cool. 17 hours later.
Matt, is it Pathfinder 2.0?
No, we did not do the new playtest. We stuck with the mode that we knew.
Gotcha.
So, but had a blast. Ran the Keep on the Borderlands, the original D&D.
Classic.
Oh, yeah.
Tell Russ how it's
fun.
better, too, than 5e.
And it was all on the Dwarven Forge stuff. It was
Kicking it up
excellent.
a
That'll keep you busy 17 hours. Now, is this you played RPGs before, or is this your first,
I have played before, yeah.
Okay.
We generally play on fantasy grounds. Like I said, they're in PA, I'm in Utah, so yeah, it was a good time, though.
That's awesome.
Cool.
I got one, Russ.
Will from Clinton, Indiana. We got in a couple cool things. We played a play test for the second edition of Eclipse Phase, which is a role-playing game. Transhumanism, if you guys are familiar with that. It seems like they've streamlined a lot of things and simplified it for the players. Terraforming Mars Prelude, which Terraforming Mars is a huge hit with our game group, and Prelude was an awesome addition for that. If you get a chance to check that out. And we picked up Starship Samurai, which we haven't got a chance to play that yet.
I've seen it. What did you think of it? I've seen it from afar. The miniatures look great.
The miniatures are fantastic.
I was trying to the board configuration's a little wacky. So what did you think of that?
I think it's gonna be fun. My game group likes to really wail on each other in games, and this is exactly that with Gundam. So
Okay.
How can it miss, right?
You can't miss with it.
So you're trying to gain loyalty from various clans that are on the board, and the higher you get their loyalty up, the more points you're scoring. Mainly just bashing each other's heads in.
Cool.
All right.
Joey from Riverside, California. I did a demo of the Trogdor board game with that was actually hosted by the Druthers Chap, the creators of Homestar Runner.
Nice.
And they did the entire demo with a Strong Bad hand puppet the entire time in the Strong Bad voice, and the game was pretty fun to play. Had a lot of great humor to it, and it was a good co-op game. So
sounds like a super fun experience too.
Yeah.
That's great. I love it.
Hi, I'm Chris from Tampa, Florida. I actually demoed at USAopoly the new Fantastic Beasts, Perilous Pursuit game. It's not out yet, but it'll be out next month. And really nice artwork, beautiful like element design on the stuff, and it was a lot of fun, very cooperative. And the other one that was very surprising to me was at the Mattel booth. They had a number of 2-player games that were designed for 2 players, and Spirit of the Wolf was phenomenal. And they have like $15 or $20 equivalent.
Really?
They were really good, and I recommend people checking them out.
Very cool. Thank you.
Rafe, it's your turn.
Russ, I have one to tell you about.
Sure.
Nicole, sorry in advance.
Whatever.
Jeremy Sache, he shows me this box. It's a dice role-playing game. And the box, it just $160 just flew out of your pocket.
I told you not to tell him.
I know,
about this.
because when you see it, you're going to go bananas. I don't remember the name of it. Does anybody know it's Bones or something? Too Many Bones.
Ross, how do you feel about Too Many Bones?
I've seen Too Many Bones.
Doesn't do it for you?
I don't know. It's got too many dice.
Oh, all right. I thought you would have loved it.
What's the name of your podcast?
I probably need to see it played. I haven't seen it played yet.
Okay, well, you're safe, Nicole. Wait, but here's a listener.
First question: dice role. I'm not a role player. Does that mean you're not role playing dice? Are you? What would
you're ROLL?
You just roll around the
You're
floor.
ROLL playing.
It could be.
I'm feeling very sick.
I'm a D6. You're a square.
My name is Eric. I'm from Wilmette, Illinois. And I finally, after hearing reviews, got to play Giant Killer Robots, which I've been wanting to.
Oh, I got the expansion.
And there's, the new expansion, and it looks great. And, I mean, I played it, and it's a lot of fun. I actually got roped into demoing it today. So,
cool.
I will be giving demo. I learned it yesterday. And I'll be giving demos today. So if you come by and sit down, please be kind.
I'll play with you because I love that game. I'll play it all day.
It's very cool, and I'm excited to play more all day.
Very cool.
Great.
Jordan from Seymour. I did the Game of Thrones from Cool Mini or Not.
Oh, the new miniature combat game.
No, I didn't. I haven't done the new expansions, but just the core set.
Yep.
And that was fun.
Did you like it? What was the coolest mechanic? Because there's so many like army scale miniature war games that in fantasy world. What did you think was cool about it?
It's tricky at first, but you can actually get really cool combos with the cards.
Yeah.
And because it was going Cersei's way, and then I flipped it real quick and won.
Yeah. Yeah, my favorite part of that game, because Craig and I demoed it yesterday too, is the off-table political intrigue that happens while you're battling. So you have miniatures for non-combatants like Cersei Lannister and Catelyn Stark, and they can do things off-table that affect the battle while you're playing, and it's a really neat... But that activation's one of your units you're not activating. So it's a kind of a neat way to bring in the politics of Game of Thrones into a miniature combat.
Yeah.
Really cool.
Yeah, it was really enjoyable.
I'm Isaac from Iowa, and yesterday and Thursday I played tanks.
Ooh,
Today I'm
tanks.
actually playing tanks at 10 o'clock.
Ooh, what'd you think of tanks? What makes it
It's
cool?
really fun, easy to play. You can get really into it. I think it's really fun and easy
Nice.
to play. And
Awesome. Well, thanks for
excited
sharing.
for it.
Sounds like a great game.
I got one.
Hello, I'm Tayo from Cambridge. I've been, apart from running a very cool 2 dungeon runs, the quality this year is better than the last years even. I've been running and playing The Dark Eye, which is one of the largest German role-playing games, and has not caught, it's out for 3 years now, it has not caught on that much, but I'm mastering some rounds here and everyone really loved that, and I'm a big fan of those. And
the accent doesn't hurt.
No, the accent doesn't hurt. And playing it for 32 years is even an advantage there. So yes, it's
excellent.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Stop by the Plaid. Oh, I'm Corey from Des Moines, Iowa. Stop by the Plaid Hat booth and new game called Guardians. It's a kind of superhero. You have 3 superheroes and it's a head-to-head. I think you can play as teams too, but our demo was just head-to-head. And there's cool superpowers. Everything feels way tuned up to 11. But once you knock out somebody, it's kind of a tug of war. So there's a lot of, you're trying to maximize your combat effectiveness. But after you knock someone out, they come right back in the next round. So you don't lose your heroes when they die. But your actions charge up your ultimate abilities. So you can trigger some crazy massive turns. It plays really quick. The demoer who gave us the instructions really hung around for about 5 minutes. And then we were able to play the entire game maybe asking 1 or 2 questions.
Wow.
So it played really slick, really fun, and the card art is amazing. Plaid Hats, their production qualities have really gone up. It's unbelievable.
Cool.
I'm John from Iowa, and I play this game called Rock, Paper, Wizard.
Oh, yeah. It's a great game.
You have a lot of cards, and you do hand signs. You hold up a fist to tell you're ready, and you, point at somebody, and it's very fun. And you try to go get the farthest up towards the gold because you killed the dragon.
Awesome. Did you win?
Yeah, I won.
Excellent. Well done.
Huzzah!
That's a great game. The spell cards, you make the different hand gestures. It's really cool.
Oh, you got that at Adepticon?
Yes,
didn't you
I picked up a copy. It's a great game.
Sean from Clinton, Indiana. Had 2 things. One thing I want to play I haven't got to yet is Gen 7, the demo for it. The new Crossroads game that takes place in space. Looks really interesting, placing dice to accomplish certain tasks. You wake up as the 7th generation of humans on an arc through space to find a new home. And there's a mystery that you have to unravel. It looks really good. And then last night, it's not a new game, but we played Star Wars Rebellion, sort of, with our friend Kevin. I have to mention his name to shame him because we did not play by the regular rules at all when he was explaining them. Throughout the entire game, we had to keep going through the rule book and finding where he was wrong. So we sort of played Rebellion, and I won.
That might sound familiar to the Wakeland girls.
Yeah, I was going to say he was playing under Russ's rules.
What that
I
is.
get that.
So when you say Kevin, you meant Russ.
Hi, I'm the pole guy from the UK.
Hey, Phil.
Thank you. Following on from what the guy at the front was saying about playing the superhero game where you're really overpowered, I don't know if I can actually say the name to keep the PG-12 rating, but Kick Bottom that Simon are doing, and you're playing completely useless superheroes. So it's a co-op game, sort of keeping the number of bad guys down and stuff. But the first 2 actions of the game were studying at the library for a test and flipping burgers to make some money to buy a red cape.
I love it. Awesome. Thank you, Phil.
Hi, I'm Brian from Iowa as well. Played a little game called Gizmos from Simon. It's got a lot of hype coming to the Gen Con, and we played it last night. It was a lot of fun. It has a 3D hopper with marbles that come down with the chute. So you see 6 marbles, and those are your energy that you grab to pay for cards, kind of a drafting. What I really liked about it is you can have chain reaction after chain reaction. So you grab a yellow, which gives you another pick, which then you grab a red, and you have a card, then that you get another one, then you get to build, and you can just take tons of actions as you build up, and really had a good time with it.
Great.
That one was the one that was selling out in 10 minutes every morning, right?
Yeah. Nice get.
Hello, my name's Kelly from North Carolina. And first off, I want to second the War Chest from AEG. It is a 2 to 4 player game. I played a 4-player game during the demo night, and it was really, really neat. Kind of a asymmetric bag building area control game. So really neat game. Then I would say a Tower of Madness from Smirk and Dagger, I believe.
Smirk and Dagger.
I saw it played. I didn't get to play it, but it looks really neat. That's a good one. And then I would say, for me, this Gen Con seems to be the Gen Con of role-playing games because you've got, Pathfinder Playtest 2. You've got The Witcher, which I looked at the book of The Witcher and didn't really feel like I wanted another crunchy role-playing game because I just also bought Vampire 5th Edition, which I think released here. And then, of course, Ross Watson, friend of the show, Wrath and Glory, which is in the back corner. Had to buy it, and it looks really good. So, yeah, that's the Warhammer one. Looks the system looks really neat and looks pretty neat. And the last thing, Keep on the Borderlands. I saw a thick, I think it was a $50 version of Keep on the Borderlands that was converted for 5th edition.
Yes.
And I don't even play 5th edition, and I almost bought it.
I almost bought it on the spot.
Yeah. Yeah, you need. It's like on the
original
first
art, original
the first
maps.
row.
Oh.
It's on the first row behind Paizo.
Yeah.
So just go there and pick it up. You can. It looks wonderful.
I know. I
Very nice.
every bit of will not to buy that.
Hi, Peter from Illinois. We played Detective by Portal Games. It's a very narrative-driven game. You play as investigators who are trying to solve, in our case, a murder. And as you go, you get these leads, and you have to decide which way you're going to go. Are you going to check the autopsy report? Are you going to interview the neighbors? And as you go, that unfolds new leads. And as you get evidence, you input that into a special website, and it kind of connects the evidence together. So if you get a fingerprint from one place and you get you check a crime file from some other place, it then would connect. Oh, that fingerprint was that person, and so it's really neat. And this neat story unfolds. It was very compelling. And so, although we did not succeed, we failed the case.
Awesome.
The killer might.
I'm Chris from Iowa. Got introduced to Savage Worlds RPG the other night. Deadlands Reloaded, Weird West, very awesome theme. Savage Worlds is it's an awesome kind of system. You can play. There's superheroes and everything regarding that. I grew up playing D&D and actually doing 5th edition Storm King's Thunder campaign with my 5 kids. And,
nice.
And we're playing that. So I wanted to look at a different theme, kind of a system to be able to get a different genres. And Savage Worlds is pretty good for that. So,
awesome. Good choice. Savage Worlds is great.
Hey, I'm Joe from Chicago, and buddies and I saw in the Entrepreneurs Hall back in the main retail room, Deep Madness. So the shtick is it's sort of like The Thing with an aquatic but Cthulhu theme. You're on some underwater station. They lost contact. You're there to figure out what's up, and everything is gone terrible. We didn't get a chance to play it. They were full up for the day, but the models are gorgeous. The game is a very co-op versus the board kind of thing, and you're fighting off the, aquatic Cthulhuoid monsters or whatever. But it looked really gorgeous.
Tentacles, I bet.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, sounds
Promises.
good to me.
Always the tentacles.
Cool.
I'm Jim from Iowa. I got to play the Reckoners, which is a very difficult co-op with the Yahtzee dice mechanic. And each player has specialized dice that they can use and requires a lot of coordination to try and make sure you don't die, basically.
Nice.
Right, and it actually convinced me to go buy the book, so I started listening to the Audible book. So
nice.
My name's Jeff. I'm from Knoxville, Tennessee. I haven't got into the exhibit hall yet because I got in last night at about 10:30. But as soon as I got in, a buddy of mine wanted me to play this game called the Dwarves Winter. It's kind of like a castle defense game. The little plastic figures are a little cartoony. There's like 7 little different dwarf characters. And so if you've ever played like Castle Panic or something like that, it's similar to it, but there's some little different mechanics. And it was a fun little game. I don't know where it's at because I haven't been in the hall yet.
But to hunt it down. Sounds fun.
Excellent.
Yeah, I'm Jeff from Jersey.
Thanks for calling, Jeff from Jersey.
First time calling. I was I haven't had a chance to play it yet, but I've seen other people playing Nyctophobia from Pandasaurus, which is really unique, I think. So all of the players have to wear these blackout sunglasses so they can't see anything at all.
Oh, I saw that, and I was wondering what was happening.
They have to just feel their way around the board to move, and one of the players is not wearing that, who's chasing them with an axe. And it was actually invented, I believe, by the story is by a teenage girl who wanted to play a game with her visually impaired uncle. So she invented this game, and then they developed it, and it just seems really nifty and unique.
Oh, that sounds really cool.
Very nice.
All right, why don't we shift over? Is there anybody else?
You giving him a button?
One more. Sorry.
Give him a button.
Hi, Adam from Ohio. And this isn't a game, but I highly recommend you check out the Artovision booth. It's some guys they take screenshots from video games and then layer them out kind of in a 3D, 2D type
like
way.
A shadow box.
Make a shadow box and like have a friend hold your wallet before you go over there. So it's going to pull on all the heartstrings if you've ever done any vintage gaming. So really good booth.
It looks really cool.
Does look cool. Great recommendations there. Why don't we shift over to miniature gaming? We only mentioned one, so let's go in and jump into a couple of miniature games. Any miniature gamers out there? We got a gentleman in the back corner there. I see a couple folks.
Hi, I'm Sean from Indy. I know it's super old, but there's a new release of BattleTech this year.
Yeah.
The new miniatures look great in that. They're based off of the Piranha Games, MechWarrior Online, and the new BattleTech strategy game sculpts.
Great.
They look amazing.
They do look awesome. Did you get to play the giant version they had on the floor there?
No, but I've been watching them do it, and I was begging them to release those minis because
And they're like a foot, 2 feet tall, right?
They're I think about 10 inches.
Okay.
Yeah, but I want a toy Battle Master. Yeah.
Yeah, who doesn't, right? Exactly.
Doc has nothing to say.
This is Doc from Ohio. I'm trying to find the bathroom. I don't know if anyone can help me out. I've been stuck in this room for a while. And I'm looking for the Watch It Played meetup with Rodney Smith.
Oh, nice.
You guys can get there.
Yeah.
So for miniatures, I want to say the Fire and Ice game, which I know was mentioned already, is the Game of Thrones board game by Simon, but I'm a giant Warhammer Fantasy fan from back in the day, and that board game takes all the things I wanted to do to Warhammer Fantasy to make it better and puts it in that board game. So if you're looking for a good fantasy regiment game, that is the place to go.
And the models are gorgeous.
They're gorgeous, put together. It's perfect for the 40-year-old gamer with multiple children.
Everything comes already pre-made.
Yep, exactly.
And they'll have 4 factions out by Christmas, right?
Yes,
because
they'll
they're going to
have 4
the-
factions out by October.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I'm Mike from Florida still, and got to play the Monster Apocalypse, the new release of Monster Apocalypse from Privateer Press. Outstanding game. They did a great job of streamlining it. I was a player of Monster Apocalypse. Actually, I think it was your guys' fault.
It might have been our fault.
Yeah. So I played it back when it first came out. Really sad that it went away. I actually started rebuying the old stuff this past year just because I missed it so much and I love the dice mechanics. And was super excited when they released it. At the convention, they've got Brugrosh, which is Cthulhu-Grosh, one of the monsters sitting on top of the Ram Bar and Grill, drinking from the little water tower there. So that was pretty exciting. Very cool.
Very cool. Now, I know they streamlined a lot of the mechanics. Does it still have your favorite bits of the original now in the miniature game? Great.
He said absolutely.
Excellent.
Hi, Jacob from Amsterdam. So this is not a game per se, but outside here in the stadium, they actually have a booth where you can get yourself 3D scanned and turned into a 3D fantasy miniature.
Oh, I saw that.
3D
Looks
printed.
cool.
Yeah.
Can they make it for you right here, or do you got to mail it?
No, I asked that. They don't actually have a 3D printer here, so it's mailed to you. But I had to think of the fact that Russ in an earlier show mentioned about getting custom fantasy miniatures.
Yeah.
And now you can get a custom fantasy miniature with your own face on it.
That's pretty cool. And when I went by, people were like grimacing, and so they can get your expressions.
Yeah,
and
they
everything?
get your expression and everything. Yeah.
That's awesome. Did you do one?
I'm thinking about it, but it is not cheap.
No. Thank you.
Rafe is in a desert, so I'm going to jump in
I'm
here.
thinking about the bathroom.
Hey, Dan from Illinois. I was really excited to see Dust 1947 here. It's really taken off. Dan from Illinois, near the Chicago area. Dust has really taken off the stores I play at, so I picked up a few new models from there, so it's just good to see them here at Gen Con.
You can have his.
So I Matt from Utah again. I walked by the is it Ares Games booth or with the Battlestar Galactica miniatures game?
Oh yeah.
And now I have not gotten to play it yet, but those models are just beautiful. But the table has been packed every time I've gone over there, so I'm really excited to check that out. I didn't know if anybody else had heard anything, seen it played, or gotten to do that yet, but I mean, come on.
It does look beautiful.
It's Apollo, man. So.
I've seen it from similar to you. I couldn't get near it, but the models look great.
Check. There we go. Hey, I'm Aaron from Ohio. I want to give a shout out to my man here who said it was on episode 10. Like, only 230 more, brother. Like, we'll see you in 2022. All right. But anyways, yeah. I'm here with Battle Foam too. So if you come see me, if you win the Battle Foam something, I'll let you know. We'll figure it out. I was just told it's above my pay grade. They're like, just tell them something. I was like, okay. I don't know. Arena Rex, they have some new stuff out for them. I don't know if you saw them. That game's phenomenal. If you ever played, if you like the video game For Honor, it feels a lot like that, where it's very back and forth. And then there was another one. I don't know if there's a Jurassic Park. It was like Mondo Games. It was like Jurassic Park. There's some, but the miniatures are phenomenal. They're kind of like up on a shelf. You can't really see them, I was here when they were setting up, and the one dude went to set it and dropped one and broke it. I was like, well, I'm walking off from this one. Like, so I didn't see it, man. Like, all right, man. Hope you got some glue with you. But the models are phenomenal, and I got a 5-year-old who loves dinosaurs and Jurassic Park. I haven't let him watch it. Let's kid. I'm not a horrible parent. I promise. Like, it's PG-13, guys. Like, I don't need that. I promise he hasn't watched them, but he loves it. So I think it comes out. They said fall, which is still, I guess, not that far away. But that was something I saw. So yeah,
nice.
Oh, Pia, real quick. Also, I found in my storage recently. Years ago, I missed the Gen Con, and Rafe signed his sleeve and gave it to my friend to give to me. So I found the sleeve for his shirt. So I almost want to have a Cinderella moment. I wish I would have brought it and be like, my prince. Like, I'll bring it, like hand it to him. Like, here you go, man. It's like, you're almost back to full shirt. But
that's so awesome. Thanks.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
You can have his.
Hey, it's Scott from Jersey again. So I don't know if you guys have played Horizon Zero Dawn.
Yes.
But if you look at Steamforged Games, apparently they're going to be putting out a game. And they were showing some of the miniatures of the mechanical dinosaurs and tigers and all that. They look amazing.
Yeah.
So definitely check them out.
Cool. Very cool. All right, I think we're going to shift over. We'll do one more. All right.
Okay, Kelly again. I played a demo of Witchborn, Inner Perdition, which is it's a miniatures game, but also a role-playing game. So I don't know really how well it demos because it's all about leveling your warband, kind of like Necromunda or now Kill Team. So it's but it uses Reaper Bones miniatures. So if you have your own miniatures already or any miniature you want, you don't have to really buy the miniatures. You can just get the rule set and the maps and play that. So it was pretty good.
That's big locally. Rafe has played that game.
Yeah, it's pretty neat. It feels like homegrown, but it's fun. So if you're into the crunchy rules where you might get annoyed if things are fiddly, it wouldn't be for you. But if you're okay to just thematically play it, it's really fun.
All right, so that's going to be achievements. One more little section here. We'll do one quick one from each host. Each person can mention one thing they saw that no one's mentioned yet.
I want to go last.
All right, Rafe, see anything cool that you want to
Well, I feel like I already did mine with the bone.
Okay.
The bone thing, dice thing that you don't like.
Nicole?
Okay, I go. So we played this little game. It was called Deep Sea Adventure. It's the size of a card game, but it has these little tokens, and you're trying to move down and collect little awards. You don't know what they are. You're like searching for treasure, and then you have to get back, but you only have so much oxygen. So if you're like the people playing with you turn back before you do, they can make you die. So it's kind of fun. So there's this rush. It's like you're like, oh, I'm just going to keep going. Oh, no, he turned back. And then you're like rushing to go back. It takes like a half an hour to play. It's really fun. It was a cute game.
Deep Sea Adventure.
Oh, go ahead.
All right, so no one mentioned Orphans and Ashes. So I have to mention this game. It's by the Looking for a Group webcomic guys, and it all takes place in their universe with their amazing art. But the premise of this game, it's kind of overpriced for what it is, honestly, because it's got a lot of miniatures in it. So it's a tile sort of exploring the orphanage game. The orphanage is a different shape every time with different rooms. Each player is playing a hero. The orphanage is on fire. It's got these great little fire tokens that snap into the bases of the orphans, so you can have the flames coming looking at their feet. So the main hero, Kyle, is trying to rescue the orphans. And so you go in and you grab the orphans, but the trick is the orphans have to balance on his figure. And as you're moving your model, if the orphans fall off, they're slain, and the fire scores points. So in the basic box, there's 3 players. There's Kyle, who's the hero, the noble elf hero who's not too bright, trying to save the orphans. There's the fire, and if the fire ends the game with more points, the fire wins, and you both lose. Then there's Richard, who's the evil wizard from Looking for Group. He's a real dick, Richard. So Richard's job is he wants to harvest the innocent souls of the orphans, but he can only do this when Kyle's not looking. So when Kyle doesn't have a line of sight to him, he can whoosh, which puts special fire on the orphans to kill the orphans and get their souls. This game probably shouldn't be produced, honestly. I played it with my daughter, and we had the best time ever. It is a great game. Now, it comes with there's an expansion available today, which adds 2 more characters. The cleric, who only works for money, so her job is to put shields on you, which is really cool glowing shields that you snap onto the base of the miniatures. And that means that every time they get hit by fire, they don't take damage, which she gets points for. And then there's this cat that has the back pop off, so you can put orphans in his saddle, but you roll a die, and sometimes, instead of rescuing orphans, the cat just eats him because cat. This game, I don't know how to feel about it, but I kind of love it. So check out Orphans and Ashes. Yes. Yeah, that would be great. Right. Right. Yeah, and the FAQ and the writing style of the book is right out of Looking for Groups, so the rule book's hilarious. Craig.
Russ, that sounds awesome. I'm going to jump in front of Craig because I didn't play the dice game. I need Doc. We got to get that game. That's a must.
Right.
I did play the Pathfinder 2.0. We played it last night. We all bought the books, and I want to say it's nice. They're trying to change some things. Russ, the rumor is they're making it more 5e-ish. I don't know if that's true. There's some 5e elements in there. So
there's another game out there that's 5e-ish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I like what they're doing. If any of you do like Pathfinder, it's worth it. We bought the Player's Handbook, in paperback, so it's kind of affordable because it's going to come out and change, when it's done being in beta. But it was fun. It's pretty neat. So that's what I actually played. I recommend it.
Cool. Okay. Well, the most fun I've had was with Orphans and Ashes, where Russ and I played, and I was Dick. And that was fun. Another game that I've been walking around, and 2 years ago, I demoed at Fantasy Flight a game called Hand of the King, which is a very simple tile-laying game from Game of Thrones. I loved it. I wanted to buy it. They didn't have it. Last year, they didn't have it. Nowadays, you can find it online, but everybody's sold out. So I grabbed it's $12 at the Fantasy Flight booth, and the art is very cartoony and weird, which is awesome considering that all these people are dying and dead. But it's a very cool, fast game. Russ and I played it. It plays in 20 minutes, and it's basically you're just sliding Varys around, and he's taking out people or collecting them from the court in King's Landing. And the more houses you get behind you, you get their banners, and when you collect an entire house, one of the companion cards on the side joins you, and you get these cool little abilities, which is half the time it's kill somebody, or if it's Hodor, then you can grab Bran from wherever he is, and now you own Bran. My favorite one was Jake and Hagar. When you get Jake and Hagar, you kill one person in King's Landing, one person owned by some other player, and one of the companions dies also. So you're just whap, everybody's dying. So that was my game of the con so far, other than Orphans and Ashes.
There you go. And is that achievements?
That's achievements.
Woo! Woo! And now, in an attempt to bring a small amount of dignity and decorum to this otherwise base form of entertainment, and I use the term loosely, I am proud to present... Oh, get on with it. It's time for App of the Ep. Seriously, Wakeland, I used to have my own segment, and now I'm relegating to announcing this pap. Hey, you're lucky we still use you.
Hey, welcome to another App of the Ep. Actually, this is kind of a special App of the Ep because it is actually the last one as we change the show up a bit. As we mentioned elsewhere, this is the last mega-sode of the D6 generation, the last format with the entire 2.5 to 3 to 4 hour episode with all the little bits, and now we're moving to sort of little spin-off bits. Which means this is the end of App of the Ep, and I do want to leave you with one final App of the Ep recommendation. But before I do, I just wanted to say thank you. You don't really have a personal segment in the show, and I just wanted to say thank you to all of our listeners who've been so supportive of the D6G format that we have today. We've been doing this now for 10 years, and I can't tell you how much it has meant to both Craig, myself, Nicole, and Rafe, and third chairs who've been on the show over the years. When we get that feedback about how much you appreciated the show and all the work we've done. And that's really, we do that because of you guys, our listeners. And I'm always been amazed that so many of you tune in and download and listen to the show of just Craig and I basically talking about stuff we do. So thank you from the bottom of my heart for all the years of support and listening. And I look forward to the next chapter of the D6 generation. But I'm also, a little sad that this last chapter is over. And I just really wanted to take a moment to say thank you so much for all the thoughts, the emails, the hellos at various conventions. It means a lot, and I just wanted to thank you all. And now for the last App of the Ep, This is interesting. So my daughters and I have been trying to learn a little bit more about artificial intelligence, and we've been playing around. I've been researching different sorts of online courses to take. But in the process, I did come across a game on Steam that purports to teach how to program artificial intelligence, or at least how to get you there. And it's called While True: Learn parentheses. So it's, the title sort of is in a little bit of codese there, right? And what's interesting about this little game, it is an early access game, so it's not fully formed yet, but I've been seeing a lot of great updates go into it. And the premise of the game is it's really data manipulation, very simple, graphically designed logic flows, and each episode of the game, each little challenge, each little problem you're trying to solve is basically sifting through different amounts of data. But the challenge you have is you have to sift through the data, and the data comes in different shapes, different colors. It's all abstracted. And you have basically little blocks that you put in there of logic blocks that can help sift through the data. But part of the challenge is the amount of time it takes you to sift through the data, because you're spending money on CPU cycles. So you really want to try to get through the data as quickly as you can. And it starts off with extremely trivial things like, take out all the red cubes, and you can make if red, send it this way, and if not red, send it that way, right? Very simple stuff. But as you go through and play the game farther and farther, it gets more and more complex. You start to reuse your routines you built earlier to save money. And what I also really like, and this has just got added an update or two ago, when you go in and it gives you a problem, it actually gives you a little bit of computer history around the problem and around the kinds of things that was used and how effective the code is at that time. So you're actually learning a little bit about computer history and computer science. You're also learning some basic logic, flow charting and logic techniques. And then eventually, as you go along, you start to learn about a little more higher level data processing as well. So it's a pretty interesting little game. I want to say I paid $15 for it on Steam for early access. I think it's worth it. But check it out. It's While True: Learn parentheses on Steam, early access today. So there you have it, the last step yet. Thanks again for all the years of listening, and we look forward to seeing you on the other side of the new form of the D6 generation. Have a good one.
Thank you for listening to another scintillating edition of App of the App, a segment in which,
hey, less of that, more just getting on with the show.
Seriously, Wakeland, you are like school in summer. No class. Hey, welcome back, and now it's time for Play by Mob with the Gen Con Mob. You guys are getting really good at that. Okay, so this year's Play by Mob is going to feature, and I'm going to try to click the screen here over here. Let's see. Ooh, it's D&D Mad Libs, which is a game of improv and emergent complexity. All right. Here are the rules. Right? Number 1, have fun first, acquire loot second. All right, that's the most important part of this, because there's some good loot out there. We've got some great game manufacturers like Stronghold here today, and Fight in a Box from Seppi, and others who have donated some amazing prizes. So, and there's enough here. Someone's going to get something. You're all getting something. So please have fun. If you want to speak, you can please raise your hand to volunteer and speak, but wait for the mic to get to you, because we want to make sure we record this for our listeners at home. Kiss the mic.
Kiss the mic.
Keep it close. Here's one thing to note. During the course of the game here, you will be acquiring loot. You don't own the loot until you leave the room.
So don't get attached.
Don't get too attached to the loot you acquire. All right. Also, you can only have one button ever, one of those little D6G buttons with the handcrafted numbers on it, and make sure it's visible. That'll matter in a bit. And my last sentence here, any loot acquisition must remain visible. The word visible got cut off there. And last but not least, the most important rule is that when I raise my hand like this, the entire mob must yell, "When suddenly," because that's a DM's favorite 2 words, right? It'll make sense in a moment. All right, so here we go. D&D Mad Libs. We're going to need a lot of participation. Now I'm going to need one of our lovely hosts here with a mic to stand near the front row, because we're going to need words pretty rapidly. So they're going to go down the row and ask you for words. And when the person comes by you, does everybody who doesn't have a button? Anybody have a button? All right, a couple folks. So when they get near you, give them buttons too. So everybody's got a button. All right. So here we go. Jumping in for our Yes. And the complexity will emerge. It's going to happen. All right, here we go. So, first of all, I need an adjective for the gentleman in the front row there.
Large.
Large. Another adjective.
Smelly.
Smelly. All right, I need I got to get this going here. Hang on a second. Smelly, good. We're doing great so far. Now I need a adjective or verb.
Small.
Small, okay. And I need a noun.
Run. No, that's
Run? There we go.
No.
That's a verb.
Could be a noun.
House. Okay, I like it. House is good. And last but not least, are you ready? I need a quaint village festival.
Village festival?
See, emergent complexity. All of a sudden, he just said what?
It just got complex.
What just happened there?
Witch trials.
Witch trials.
I like it. It's a festive witch hunt.
All right. Witch hunt. All right, here we go. As every good Dungeon and Dragons or any other RPG fantasy campaign starts, it was a large and smelly night at the local tavern named The Small House. It was crowded due to the witch trials just coming to an end. Most were just finishing their meals when... Excellent. I need a single volunteer to come to the front of the room right now. Someone raise your hand real quick. That gentleman over there, come on up to the front of the room. Someone stand close to him with the mic. That's not our. Okay, there we go. Excellent. All right. Now I need another person with a mic to keep working the crowd. Start with the person left off and keep giving Mad Lib words. Ready? I need a type of empathetic individual.
Psychologist. Oh,
No, not from you. You're going to be playing. We're about to build his character. All right? Emergent complexity. See how this works? You thought it was just Mad Libs. All right.
The village pie maker.
I'm sorry?
The village pie maker.
The village. How is a pie maker empathetic? That's fine. I'm with you. I'm with you. Let's not overthink this. Pie maker. Okay, excellent. Pie maker. Good. Very good. Well thought through. There, I love it. All right. So, sir, Mr. Pie Maker, I need you to make you a empathetic plea for help. And, sir, what is his crisis?
Run out of kumquats.
He's run out of kumquats.
Kumquat shortage.
Okay. Kumquats.
I've come across that before.
All right.
Sorry. Yeah.
All right, kumquat shortage. So now you have 30 seconds or a minute to make an impassioned plea as a pie maker who's run out of kumquats. Go.
There's nothing better than a great kumquat pie. I think everyone can agree. But we all know that now the drought has caused a shortage. So in order for any of you to have any fun in your lives, you will need to help me get some kumquats for our kumquat pies. For I love nothing more than to bake joy and bring them into your lives.
Excellent, sir. Craig, wait. Stay up here.
Oh, you're not
done yet, pie maker.
Kumquat pie maker.
Craig, on a scale of 1 to 5, how good was that?
Oh, I would give that a 4.
4, okay. Behind you, emergent complexity, people, you will see a large D20. Please roll that die and add 4 to it against a DC of 10. Oh, my God. Emergent complexity. How'd you do? A nat 20! Oh, my gosh. Head over and select a prize immediately, sir. And then after you select your prize, you're going to return to the front with your prize right in front of you at your feet.
The prize, not your prize.
The prize.
The prize you selected.
A prize. Any prize you like. There you go. Now, you probably all see where this is going, but here we go. Okay, while our pie maker is selecting the prize that someone donated him in need for kumquats, right? Now, now I should say, as our pie maker selects prizes, we have a wide range of gently used prizes. These are review copies we often get, so we play them once or twice, review the game. We don't keep any review copies. We always give them back to our community. So that he has selected a gently used copy of Gloomhaven, which is there's still plenty of discovery there. We know Gloomhaven is one of those legacy games. Now, so hang on to that, but you You're in the middle of an inn with a bunch of villagers who's tried witches, so anything can happen. All right. So the tavern full of people is about to react to the pie maker's impassioned kumquat void plea when
suddenly,
all right, a warrior in the corner stands to answer the kumquat call. I need a warrior to come up right here. Please come to the front of the room. Stand next to the pie maker. As the warrior comes forward, the next person in line to give us a word. Who's the next person in line to give us a word? All right. I need a heroic name. A heroic name. Any Disney character will do. Anything you want. Doesn't matter. It's all good. Yeah. Heroic name. Here we go. She's thinking.
Wait. Stitch.
Stitch. Excellent choice. Stitch. Stitch the Barbarian has stood forward. Also, next person in line, I need a motivation for Stitch. Motivation. Here we go. How does he think he's going to help this pie maker? Oh, that's a tough question. Emergent technology. We'll go to the next person. Pass. You can pass. You can pass if you can't think of something.
Uncanny desperation.
Uncanny desperation. I love it. And all right. All right. So you need now Stitch. Please make your case to the tavern and to the pie maker about how your uncanny desperation and your skills as a warrior can help this kumquat situation.
I can help here. I am Stitch, the Barbarian. I can conquest and beat and defeat any kumquat desperation in need. I am here to help.
All right, that's pretty good. Nicole, how would you rate that on a scale of 1 to 5?
I'm going to give that one a 3.
A 3, okay. Grab that D20 behind you, sir, and give it a roll. +3 to your die roll there. How'd you do? He beat a 10. I'm looking at what? We got a 12 there or 11? Math is hard at 8 o'clock in the morning. Excellent. All right, go grab yourself a prize as well. And bringing up the prize you're defending. So the warrior has come forward also carrying his prize. Excellent. So now the pie maker has a champion. He's clearly going to choose Stitch. When suddenly, excellent. A wizard from the other corner of the room stands up. I need a wizard to come forward. That gentleman in the back raised his hand first. Come on up. Come on up, wizard. All right. Who's next in line to give us some words? All right. I need a favorite spell.
Mage Hand.
Mage Hand? All right. Apparently Bigby's been all right. Mage Hand. I love it.
That's awesome.
And I need a type of madness.
Space Madness.
Space Madness. All right. Making it work, aren't we? All right. Wizard, please describe how you will use perhaps your mage hand. How you're going to help out this kumquat crisis, possibly better than the barbarian, right? But you have some space madness you got to deal with as you're making this description. Go ahead.
Well, sir, I did overhear that you need some kumquats. I believe I do not know this for sure, but I'm thinking that maybe they grow in trees. I do not know, but because I'm a little mad from space madness, evidently. I've been alone on a spacecraft for a while. But I have a special ability where I could project my hand, not this hand, but like one like it, and go and pick the kumquats off the tree if it grows on a tree. If it doesn't, you probably don't need me.
Awesome. Rafe, how was that on a scale of 1 to 5?
I give that a 5.
I think you would. Okay, now, Wizard, because you have Magic Hand, you get to choose which prize you'd like to grab before you roll. You can take a prize from the village prize pool over there in the corner of the tavern, which is conveniently placed, or you could attempt an opposed roll against any prize that's already up here on the front of the room and steal that instead using your mage hand. You got a +5 to your roll here, so it's pretty good. Are you now? So make your roll to see if you can beat a DC 10 with +5. He sounds pretty good. Go ahead there. What'd you do? +5 gets it. Go ahead and grab yourself a copy of the game you like there.
Going to the tavern.
Well done. Bring it back to the front of the room there, Wizard. You're doing great. Awesome. So we've got 2 choices clearly to consider here to help save the kumquats. Could it be the Wizard with his wizard's hand? Could it be the crazy barbarian? Or, yes, a bard stands up in the third corner of the room. Come on up, bard. All right. Who's next in our word line? Okay, sir. I need a favorite instrument. Flute. Flute. Excellent. And I need a type of accent. Emergent embarrassment. It is a class.
Swedish chef.
Swedish chef is a callback. All right. All right. So please describe bard in a Swedish chef accent and being a flavored into your flute, how you will be superior to the wizard or the warrior in this kumquat crisis.
To all the true Swedes, I apologize in advance. Like this is blame Jim Henson. It's not my fault. Okay, here we go. Es birdie bird, I'm the flirtist. I have the flirtist birdie to bear around. I'm better at kumquatting with the play the flutes. Es birdie bird, the egg de jour. Mort, with the play the flute to get the kumquat pies.
Nicely done, sir. How do we rate, Craig? How do we rate that?
That's got to be a 5.
All right. Your choice now is to go after one of the prizes that already some of the other people have up here, or roll against the DC-10 prize pool.
And up front we have Warhammer Age of Sigmar, Conan, and Gloomhaven.
What you call?
Or the Tavern.
All right, he's going up against the prize pool. Give it a good roll there real quick.
It's rolling. A 10.
A 10, he's got it. Choose a game of your choice there and come on back up front. All right. So, you see where this is going. Clearly we got a plan here. And so the pie maker's got many, many choices. He's about to choose one of these fine, fine heroes.
You're getting it.
All right, who's next in the row? I need a type of typical evil fantasy humanoid.
Dark elf.
Dark elf, excellent choice. All right, I need 3 volunteers to come on up to the front of the room. You guys picked, mic handlers, you guys pick one of those people, or 3 of them. So dark elves, you 3 are dark elves. 3 dark elves have burst into the tavern all of a sudden. It's to win suddenly, right? Now, who's next in our line? I need a type of betrayal. Type of betrayal. Oh, it's got to come from him.
Inevitable.
Inevitable. Curse you. All right, dark elves. Dark elves, the 3 of you. I need you now to you get 30 seconds to collaborate real quick. You got to make a combined pitch and explain to the tavern how you were betrayed, inevitably betrayed, by the heroes currently in the room. All right? So we need to get these guys a mic and give yourself a couple seconds here to think it through here. And their dark elves are plotting right now. You can see them plotting. The heroes look a little concerned because it is 3 dark elves, and it's going to be bad. So here we go. They look both dark and elvish. It's a lot of muttering. They got a plan. All right. I heard some words. Okay. Are you ready, dark elves? All right. Make your plea or your pitch or your passion in. Okay, go.
We are kumquat farmers, and they stole our kumquats.
After they Bonacord us.
And then they threw the kumquats at us. And now they're all gone.
Nicely done, dark elves. Rafe, what's the rating of the dark elves pitch? 2. Dark elves. So here's the thing, dark elves. You're going after the heroes. We got an opposed die roll. So dark elves, you roll the die at a +2. Heroes, you're rolling a straight up die with no modifiers. Go, dark elves. What do we get? 9. 11. The heroes repel you, dark elves, so you must choose from the prize pool instead. You must choose, and when there's a tie like this, you guys choose in your button order. So use your buttons to determine who gets to pick what from the prize pool. Lowest first. Yeah, there you go. All right. So they're off. The dark elves have to settle for not the prizes the heroes have already claimed. So they're moving on to check that out. And while they're going over there, it looks like it might come to blows. The Dark Elves are giving them evil eyes. The other guys are like, look, we got no kumquats. That's why we're here. When suddenly, I need 3 more volunteers to come up front. Meanwhile, while people are volunteering, who's next with our word microphone? Excellent, sir. I need a type of large size adjective.
Ginormous.
Ginormous. I like it. And next in line, who's next in line over there with the mic? Jeff Engelstein. I need a flying fantasy creature.
A griffin.
Griffin. Okay, excellent. All right. And then now, so when suddenly a ginormous griffin composed of 3 parts flies through the windows of the tavern, who's got the mic next? Mr. Bonacor, I need a type of attack from a griffin, but it can be creative. It can be any kind of attack. Type of attack.
A swooping insult.
Swooping, I love it. All right, next.
Oh, I just had to use
I love it. Next in line, I need another type of attack from a griffin. Next in line.
Oh, type of attack.
Type of attack.
Swipe with the claws.
Swipe with a claw. I love it. And third person in line, I need another type of attack.
A ferocious bite.
Ferocious bite. All right, excellent. So now what's happened is the griffin has burst into the room. One of you, what's your button order? Stand in button order from lowest to highest. All right, perfectly done. So you are a swooping insult. You are the claw swipe. And you are ferocious bite. You can choose which of these 2 groups of people to attack, the Dark Elves or the warrior group, Emergent Complexity. Who are you guys going to attack? And then you got to describe how you're going to attack using your 3 attack types. 10 seconds. The griffin is consulting with itself, going through its many options. It is. Well, that... And the swooping insult's clearly a legendary action, so think it through carefully. You got to roll for it to recharge, so be careful. All right. Oh, the swooping insult's going to be key here, I think. All right. All right. Excellent. All right. So go ahead, Griffin. How's this going to work out?
All right, so I see a bunch of heroes over here who are kumquats, stealing, pie-making, thieving bad guys. And we're going to swoop in and
Inform them that we dislike their pies.
Nice.
That's our insult.
All right. Excellent. Is that your okay? Great pitch, Griffin. I love it. Craig, how would you rate the Griffin's attack pattern?
A little disjointed.
A 2. Okay, Griffin.
Right.
And so you get to roll against the heroes at +2. Heroes defend yourselves with a straight up die roll. Go ahead. You can roll at the same time. It's all good.
Bad juju. All right.
Uh-oh.
I like our odds. Not so much.
How'd we do?
Oh, no.
So what's the result out there?
5 and 12. 5 for us, 12 for them.
5. The heroes defend themselves again. So, Griffin, head over to the prize pool. Choose your prizes in button order there, please, gentlemen. Nicely done. All right. The Griffin starts to chew on some of the prizes in the corner. It seems distracted. And everything seems like it's going to be fine. The town guard shows up. I need 5 town guards.
Sorry.
All right.
You're next.
All right, who's next in the row? I need the most grievous crime in town.
kumquat smashing.
Kumquat snatching?
Smashing.
Kumquat snatching is the most grievous crime in town. And who's next in line? I need a really cliche type of police accent.
Police accent?
Yeah. Go for it. Or give me a regional dialect. I'll take anything.
Brooklyn.
Brooklyn. Brooklyn cops. I love it. All right. So Town Guard, you're here on looking for people who have stolen kumquats, the most grievous crime in the town, and you all speak like Brooklyn cops. Go ahead and confer for a moment, and then you get to choose which group you're going to accuse of stealing kumquats. It could also be the Griffin, by the way. It could be the Griffin who has stolen kumquats.
They are the guards are pondering.
The guards
They're
are ready.
building together.
All right, guards. Do you have a plan? Yep. All right. Make your accusations.
So we hear you guys took all the kumquats. Where are the kumquats? You accusing the other people of taking them?
Did you take them to your caves? You guys live in caves, right? You heard about that.
Yeah, we hear you hiding them underground. That's what you say, but I don't know if we believe you.
We're gonna take you back to the house, to the guardhouse, to ask you some really pointed questions. Okay?
It's just because we're drow. Is this a drow thing?
Whoa.
He played the drow card.
Drow lives matter, man.
Hey, man, we got magical eye badges. We don't do any of that. Come on.
Drow lives matter. I love it.
So do God lives. All right, man, we're good.
Excellent. All right, Nicole, how would you rate the town guard? A 5. And you went after the drow, right? Yeah. Drow had a pretty good comeback there. We're going to give the drow any bonuses for that comeback?
Yeah, it's a +3.
+3. Okay, so opposed die rolls, +5 versus +3. All right. +5. Could make it. Oh! What did we get? How'd we do?
The Drows win.
They defended you again, so use your badge order there, guards, to select some prizes there.
The Drows got
All
a
right.
22.
Excellent. Yeah, badge order will work. Badge order will work.
The tavern is getting pillaged.
The tavern is getting pillaged.
The heroes have held fast, though.
And I need a type of cataclysmic event.
A Twinkie shortage.
A Twinkie shortage? That's cataclysmic? All right, Twinkie shortage.
To some people, that is cataclysmic.
That could be catastrophic. All right, Twinkie shortage. And I need a person who would care about a Twinkie shortage. See, it's not that cataclysmic.
The tavern hostess.
Tavern hostess. All right, tavern hostess. I need a tavern hostess to come on down. Doc, come on down. Doc, you need to explain to the entire tavern, as the hostess, that unfortunately, due to the Twinkie shortage, you don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. All right? And, we didn't name the town. Who's next? What's the name of the town? See, go to the group. We named the inn, but not the town.
Not too horrible.
Not too horrible. That's the name of the town. There you go. Not too horrible. All right, tavern hostess, Twinkie shortage, not too horrible. Time to close the tavern.
I am the most beautiful wild waitress in this town, and I'm all out of Twinkies. It's time for you to go. Get your drow and your kumquat farmers and your barbarian and get out of here.
Nicely done, sir. All right. How do you guys rate? Craig, how would you rate Doc there on his...
I'll give it a 4. I think he had some more to give.
All right. Doc, before you come down, Doc, you can ask one of the groups to leave first to make an opposed die roll against them to choose a prize from one of those groups, or you can go against the tavern and choose one of the leftover prizes as well. I don't mean leftovers. There's still great stuff over there. All right.
The Kumquat Heroes.
Roll against the Kumquat Heroes.
He's
All right,
fronting the Kumquat Heroes.
What'd you say the bonus was?
A
+4.
+4.
Rolled
16. They've been defending really well
16
today.
total. The heroes
total.
roll a 6.
A 6. So you can choose one of the heroes'
This
prizes.
is the first hero
First prize
pillage.
steal. The waitress is like, get out, but leave that with me. That's right. The waitress takes a tip.
Warhammer.
Now,
Age of Sigmar.
if your prize got stolen, you can go select a different prize.
Russ
from the
is
prize pool.
mean.
There it is. I had a rule up in the beginning right here. Don't get too comfortable with your loot. All right. Well, thank you. That is the end of Play by Mob. I want to make sure it's time to get back to the thing. Now, if you did not get did not come to the front, you can now. Here's the last bit of emergent technology. Everybody who's already got a game, who's got up front, you can go sit down in your things. Anybody who has not got a game yet, please line yourself up past Rafe in badge number order, lowest to highest. And I will leave
Lowest
it
to
to you
highest.
to figure out the most creative way and most efficient way to do
right
that.
Here.
6.
Who beats a 6? Who's 7? 8? 8? 16.
Yeah, the Conan game
14,
is
go
great.
Here.
I just have too many dungeon
8,
crawls. But
right
it's a good
here
game.
behind 6. We got a 9.
All
10.
right.
11.
The people are lining up back there.
Help her out, Cheese. What is it?
She's a
53. Oh, there you go. There you go,
All
gentlemen.
right, nice.
Very nice.
Now that you've lined up, go ahead and in badge number order select
All right,
from
Craig,
the
feed 'em
remaining
through.
prizes here. Thank you guys for very much for all the great support and all the great prizes to our manufacturers, and thank you guys for all the help over the years. Craig, anything else you want to add to the end of the play by mob here?
Well, at the very end, the dragon comes with his kumquat horde.
Is all sorted?
And disperses it to the village, and everybody gets a kumquat pie.
Hey, excellent. Kumquats for all, even the griffin and the dark elves. All right, thank you, everyone.
it's all-
And that's the end of Play by Mob.
Thank you.
This is Total Fangirl. Regular Jane most days, total fangirl when the moment strikes. Han shot first. Starbuck is a guy. And Lestat, now there's a vampire. Hey everyone, this is Nicole, your Total Fangirl. You can follow me on Twitter at Nicole Wakelin and check out everything I'm up to over at NicoleWakelin.com. Our shout out is to all of our wonderful supporters over at Patreon. Head to patreon.com/the D6 Generation and you too can support the show. Well, this is it, guys. This is the last, I guess, long form edition of the D6 Generation. So it's the last TFG, so I'm done after this. You'll still hear from Russ and Craig with their smaller segments that they're planning on doing, but that's it for me. Check it out. So really, this is just a thank you to everybody who's listened to all these years. It's been wonderful doing this, and the thing I treasure the most are the people that I've met while I've been a part of the D6G, people that I met at conventions, people that have come up to me everywhere, shared their stories about gaming, especially gaming with their kids. It's been really fun to hear about how people enjoy gaming and just being a nerd and the nerd culture with their children, and people who say their little girls are excited to be a part of things because they know that it's not just a boys thing, that girls can game and girls can be geeks too. That's sort of the best part for me. I appreciated every email, every tweet that I've ever gotten. It's been so fun engaging with you guys on all these topics over the years. And truly, I hope to still chat with you. I'm still online. I'll still be on Twitter. You know, Nicole Wakelin, head over there. You can still find out what I'm up to. Feel free to email me. I love chatting with you guys about what you think about games and TV shows and all that kind of good stuff. So really, this is just a goodbye. Thank you very much for all the fun and for all the memories and for listening all this time. And, you know, you guys take care of you, and we'll see you out there.
Hey, and welcome back for the last segment of the last mega-sode of the D6 Generation. Exactly. So we thought we love the play by mob. We love the achievements where everybody gets to take part and everybody gets to say what they thought, and what they said, and we actually get a lot more information from that than we normally would. But we also, that leaves us with, you know, our thoughts and our feelings and what we played after the event that we haven't talked about. So usually that gets covered in the next achievements in gaming. Now, we are hoping to do achievements in gaming occasionally, but not every other week like we've been doing for the past 10 years. So, lest that our brains fade in memory, we don't remember what we're supposed to be talking about, we thought we would do sort of like an impromptu review of the different things that we saw, the games that we played, and all the different games that sort of connected to our Gen Con experience, whether it was a demo or a game that we bought, and give you a little more in-depth info on that. Right, Russ?
Exactly.
Am I right?
Yeah, and I wanted to even more than achievements. There were a few games I purchased and tweeted about, and Craig did too, where a lot of folks were like, "Ooh, can we hear more about that now?" So it might be kind of fun to dive a little more detailed on some of those games too. And then we might do an achievements. That'll be fun also. So yeah. So Craig, why don't you start us off? What was one of the games that you really impressed you at Gen Con that you either bought or you're watching it closely?
Well, I'm just gonna jump in really quickly, because this is tangential, right?
Okay, sure.
I did the Kickstarter for A Song of Ice and Fire, or as Simon is now going to officially call it, apparently, according to all of their literature, SIF. Not sure I like it, but I guess it is a lot shorter than A Song of Ice and Fire.
Sure.
And that's, of course, the miniatures game that goes with the books. It is not actually connected or signed off by the TV show, although Russ made a very interesting analysis of the art in the deluxe rulebook, which is gorgeous. And the art, I think Russ is right, does a very good job of skirting the line. So even if I don't tell you who this character is, you're probably going to be able to recognize them by the TV show.
Yeah, they don't have a likeness of the character. Like, they didn't draw the Cersei Lannister's face does not look like the actress who plays Cersei Lannister, but they definitely were influenced by the way the characters act, the mannerisms. You can tell the poses, the postures. I felt were definitely taken a lot from what was shown in the shows, which I like. And Craig hinted at this. One of the things that's really impressive, the art in this game, everywhere in the game, from the cards to the box art to the books, stunning, and it's all original to the game. This isn't borrowed from, there's already tons of Game of Thrones source material and artwork out there from a variety of sources, but these guys went all in and made their own, and it is fantastic.
It's gorgeous. And I would have to even say, right down to the little incidental art, the designs and such on the rulers and everything, which is, it's very intriguing to me. The design on the cardboard rulers that come with the game, gorgeous, like weaving patterns and all kinds of beautiful, like brocade look alike in the background, everything. Interestingly enough, if you paid for the plastic rulers, it doesn't have any of that. So it's intriguing. That's a little weird, little intriguing thing to me. But I love every component in the game has this sort of artistic through line that brings it all together. So I got the Kickstarter. I did not get anything beyond the basics, other than I did pay a little extra for the deluxe rulebook, which I'm super happy I did, because it's got all that gorgeous art in it. And I've been painting up some of the models, and the models are great, but I hadn't played the game. And so Russ and I, of course, Simon had a big, huge area at Gen Con, and I really wanted to do a demo, and Russ was all keen to do a demo with me. He loved the idea of the game, A Song of Ice and Fire, and they had all of the terrain out. So it was kind of like a confluence of all these different things, because the one thing I did regret not getting out of the Kickstarter was the terrain. And as a lot of Kickstarter people will know, when they do an exclusive for the Kickstarter, almost always there's a little fine print that says, we reserve the right to sell this at conventions and use it as prize support, things like that. And that was done in the Kickstarter. So I was really hoping that I could pick up the terrain, even if it was going to be like double the price of the Kickstarter, because the price on the Kickstarter was such a good deal for all this terrain. And the terrain is extensive. There's palisades, there's man traps, there's bogs, there's hills, there's trees, there's bushes, there's walls, all kinds of cool stuff. And a weirwood tree from the books and the TV show. Sadly, as soon as I got there, I waited in this big, giant, long line to go all the way through the Simon store, and to find out all they had was the starter set there. They didn't have anything else, and they didn't have any of the exclusives. And then, insult to injury, all of the demo tables had this beautiful terrain on it. So I was like, oh my God, it's beefy, it's chunky, it's big on the table. I loved it. And so anyway, so Russ and I did the demo, and talk a little bit about the demo, Russ. How did you what did you like about the game?
There was a bunch of things that
you pre-ordered it, you ordered it before Gen Con, but a bunch of things about that I saw at Gen Con made it click. And the demo is one part. The other part I wanted to mention before I get to that is the other two factions. So what they had on display there was actually equivalent size forces of not just the Lannisters and the Starks, which come in the starter set, but also it was the wall, right? Who was it? The Night's Watch? Is that what it was?
The Night's Watch.
Night's Watch and the Giants, right?
No, the Wildlings.
The Wildlings, right. The Wildlings, the Night's Watch, and the other two. So you got 4, and those other 2 look like they're coming out before the end of the year. So right there, that was like, okay. And the models look fantastic. I mean, that was one of the things being at Gen Con was great, is I was able to see the models in person for all 4 of those factions and say, well, this is going to be great. CMON does a great job on their figures. Not really a surprise there, but really look fantastic. And then we played the demo. And what was great about this demo was they've been demoing this game on and off now for a while at various conventions, but only in very small forces. And so here we got to play with the full starter box plus a few bonus things. And so it was great. Craig knew the rules enough to be dangerous, and the demo guy was awesome. And I just really liked a couple things really impressed you right off the bat. Rules are simple. The orders are right there in front of you. You got a hand of orders, which is fantastic. You've got cards for all your units, so it's really clear to see what's going on there. And I love this concept of the off-table sort of intrigue. So you've got characters in your army that are non-combatants. So you can have Catelyn Stark or Cersei Lannister, and there's a bunch of others too. And you pay for them with points, and they take one of your activations. But when you activate this model, instead of moving it or charging or anything, you're just going to put it on the sideboard. And the sideboard's got different positions on it that do different things that affect the course of the battle. And they enable their units better, or maybe they cause fear in the enemy units or whatever. And your opponent can do the same, and you're vying for the same slots in the sideboard to kind of get this bonus ability or impact your opponent in a sort of an evil way before he or she does. But you got to decide when you're going to do that with that model, because you're spending one of your activations, because the game's got integrated activation systems. So if I'm going to do this little sneaky side thing, I'm not going to activate one of my primary units. Maybe some of the side things let you do that, but pretty much you got to give one of your activations up to do it. Brilliant mechanic, and it so nicely brings in the political machinations and all the other characters in Game of Thrones that you wouldn't normally see on a battlefield.
Right. And the thing that I love is that it makes everything non-linear, in that normally you're like, okay, everybody's going to get one activation, or, they're going to be able to activate once a turn, whatever they're going to do. Well, with that tactics board, there's so many other options also. Like, you could have a unit that attacks twice, or you could have a unit that moves twice. Mm-hmm. And there's cards also that will do that. So you can't, it puts a little element of the fog of war onto the table, where you're not exactly sure if those people are where you think they are. You're not exactly sure they're exhausted. They might have it in them for one more Sally. And I mean, it does something to this kind of a fantasy massed combat game that I don't think I've ever felt before, which is this: there's never a certitude, mm-hmm. of like, you can't game the game, so to speak. I mean, not at my level anyway. I eventually, maybe I'll know everything there is to know, enough that I know, so that's what's going to happen here and there and there. You don't know, like, what happens if I get to the tactics board first and then this guy gets an attack twice. Or quite often you have to use the tactics board just to deny the other. Like, oh my God, I don't really have any way to benefit from a second attack right now, but he is going to kill me if he gets it. So I have to move. So it really adds a whole nother dimension of the game that I really find engaging and intriguing.
Yeah, I think it's and that's really the key. The other part of the game that they did a great job with was there's, as I said, there's no complexity to the game, but all the factions down to the units and the models are asymmetric. So each unit's got a card. They've got one or two simple special abilities, but like the Lannisters are so imposing that if the Lannisters pass a panic check, the unit that just attacked them has to make their own panic check, because it's like, oh my God, I can't make these Lannisters run. Meanwhile, and they always pay your debts. So if you hurt a Lannister, you're going to back 10-fold. And the other one is the Starks, meanwhile, are like so brave and so bold, they can hit you harder. So it's fantastic, and it really feels nice. And each character feels great. And then, of course, that hand of order card you have, or the command card you have, is fantastic, because those command cards, half of your deck is based on the faction you play, and the other half of the deck is based on the leader you choose for your army. So not only does each deck different based on faction, but then the leader, if I choose Jaime Lannister as opposed to Tywin Lannister, as opposed to Tyrion Lannister, as opposed to other people as my leader, and they've got them all. I mean, you name them, they're out there. You have just your deck changes totally. And to add to Craig's point, the level of certainty, it's almost like how much a list changes when you change your caster in War Machine. It's that level of change in this game as well. And Star Wars Legion has the same thing. We talked a little bit about that. It's almost a very similar mechanic, and I really like this sort of new thing. We're seeing more and more miniature war games with these, and GW's doing it now too with 40K, with these hands of cards that are faction specific, and sometimes they're enhanced by specific units, and it really adds a lot of flavor and adds a nice level of uncertainty without being too game breaking. So I really like that.
Yeah. And so I loved it. And the miniatures are beautiful. They're all approved by Dark Sword, who has the original license for the game, the Song of Ice and Fire minis. And it was just great. I really, really enjoyed it, to the point where I went back to my hotel room and ordered all the terrain. So
so you're in. So it definitely validated your purchase, right? You're feeling great now about where it's going and everything.
This is the best Kickstarter I've done in years. It may be the best Kickstarter I've ever done. Well, no, that's not true, because, there's End of the Line is there. That's great. But as far as miniatures games go, I'm used to putting all this money down, and then when I get the game, I'm not in the mood. I'm on to something else. I've gone on, and this one, I was like, when I got it, I was like, wow, those are some pretty beautiful models. And so I started painting them. And then I love the gameplay. I got sucked right into the terrain. I love the way the terrain works. It's keyword organized. So that works perfectly. And I love A Song of Ice and Fire. What I'm learning is, and I've always known this about myself, right? And I've never been shy about saying it, that I need the whole package in these miniatures games. Like, I can't go, and I mean, we did briefly dip our toe into agnostic games, and those are fun too if you're kind of tying them into an existing universe that you already like. But these games, Star Wars, Song of Ice and Fire, these games that are either like, exploring these worlds that I've already loved for years and years and years, or fleshing them out. This is really kind of like I'm going into these games and they already have everything else that I want. So if the game's any good, it's really going to suck me in. And that's exactly what happened with A Song of Ice and Fire. So I'm super excited. I was super excited to see that the next two factions that are coming out were the Night's Watch and the Wildlings. Those are both factions I would love to get behind. So I hope I'm not going to do another one of those. I get everything, because I'd like to leave.
I will buy one.
We need to leave at least one army for Russ.
Leave one for me. Well, two thoughts on this, and I want to ask you a question, Craig, because someone asked this on Twitter not too long ago, and I wanted to ask you this questions. But first, what I'm concerned about, yes, the free folk. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Wow, such a dismissive.
It's derogatory. It's a microaggression, Craig.
It is.
So what I'm concerned about is this idea that when I'm concerned about Rune Wars, because I feel like this replaces Rune Wars for me. Although Rune Wars is more fanciful, I mean, obviously, but it has a lot of what I like about Rune Wars in it, with a great IP. But let me ask you this question.
Okay.
So when we were playing and showing all those amazing pictures of your terrain for Star Wars Legion, which we both also are super enjoying, and to your point, you're starting to discover that these miniature games based on IPs you love are fantastic. Yeah. Someone asked us on Twitter, as a miniature gamer, isn't part of that being able to customize and come up with your own paint jobs and color schemes? And when you're playing these games in these IPs, do you feel restricted, or does that creativity go away? Because you kind of want to paint the Starks like the Starks and the Lannisters like you're not going to paint the Lannisters purple, right? Because they're red. I mean, they're just red. That's the Lannisters. So what's your feeling on that, Craig? Do you feel like you're losing any creativity there, or is it a different approach for you? How does it feel?
This has been a journey that I've been going through over the last probably 5 years, and I haven't said anything about it to anyone, including the people that I talk to about painting miniatures and how much I love painting miniatures. I have been painting sort of bog standard like paint schemes for about 3 or 4 years now, where
And I don't know why, but I've just been like, you know what? I like it on the Codex cover, or I like it on the box cover. I'm just going to go with what's there. I'm not going to get all wild and wacky. I want to recreate something, or maybe I'm just lazy. I don't know. But for some reason, long before this question you're just asking me became important, I've been doing the basic color scheme. So go back into my Twitter feed if you want proof and look at all of my Rune Wars armies, because every one of them, all 4 of them, are painted right with the color scheme in the main rule books and fluff. So I could have gone, and I mean, right off the bat, there's all kinds of different justifications for different color schemes. With especially with the humans in Rune Wars, there's like 13 different baronies, and so every one of them has a different color scheme. But I just did the blue, right? Or what about the Death Guard, right? That's going back almost 2 years now, or a year and a half. And the Death Guard, the Codex has like 8 different color schemes in it, but there's one on the cover, and that's the one I used. So I don't really, it doesn't bother me anymore. Almost like I'm trying to recreate these iconic.
You know what's happening? You're becoming a historical miniature gamer, because historical miniature gamers recreate. They paint their miniatures to look exactly like they did in history.
Yeah,
you're kind of doing the same thing. But I think that's part. Well, I bring that up not to be critical, but to actually say that's their joy, right? Their joy, recreate something they love. So for someone, it's Napoleonics, or it's whatever. And for you, it's recreating these fantasy worlds.
That's true,
right?
Yeah. So
I think that's still cool, and I sometimes go off the reservation with some stuff, but yeah, I found like my Rune Wars guys too were right off the box. But the creativity for me was like, how can I paint them cool? Because I'm trying to learn an airbrush. How can I paint them cool and look like them, but still do them fast? So my creativity was cool but fast.
Yeah. And I would have to say, what would I have to say? I had something more to add, and I can't.
We'll close. Go ahead.
You can get more creative, right? Because you could play around with the tabards if you look at a Song of Ice and Fire, the one fear I have is that these models are going to look very similar, and I think they did a great job of making them all look different, even though it's mostly sword and shield, right? Or a couple of other different weapons. So you could change the tabards. You could make them different small houses that are supporting Stark or Lannister. So there's options there. And I wanted to say, I didn't single it out. I didn't call it out in my pictures from Gen Con when I was looking at the Legion tournament. But there are several players that were playing Imperial units in Legion that had done different color schemes, right? And all you have to do is take a kind of a step sideways into the prequels and look at all the different color schemes that the different clone the different clone troopers units had, and you could kind of bring that sensibility into Star Wars Legion, which a couple different players did extremely well. And you could also do the same with the Rebels. The thing that drove me crazy about my Rebels, painting all those Rebels, I wanted them to all look different. And so I did like rows, like these guys are mostly in blacks and grays, these guys are in browns, these guys are in greens, and then I mix them all up. And the funny thing is now when I put them on the table, I tend to just put them all in the same general colors so I can figure out which squad is which.
Well, the other thing, Craig, that was pretty was the idea that you took off the heads of some models and got some third-party heads and changed them.
I did.
And you also did some 3D printing and included other aliens in there. So you did conversions, right? And I would imagine that in Song of Ice and Fire, there will be opportunities for conversions. You and I got pretty interesting and excited about various basing techniques with that we experiment with, never done before with Rune Wars. So there's always these opportunities to be creative. Yeah. I think it's just different kinds of creativity, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And so, so to answer that question, if that is why you're playing like 40K, which is, I think, the best example of that kind of, make it your own, then these games might not be for you. And I think that's a totally valid question that you have to ask yourself. And it would be a totally valid reason not to get into these particular kinds of games. But for me, it's really hitting multiple sweet spots at the same time.
All right. Well, yeah. So Song of Ice and Fire, it's awesome. Definitely check it out if you're into fantasy blocks of troops games.
Exactly. Yes.
So the one that caught my eye when I first got on the vendor hall floor, and actually was one of my first purchases, was giant killer robots. Now, like Craig, see, we're following a pattern here, Craig.
Yes.
I backed the giant killer robot Kickstarter way back when it first launched. And in fact, we had the folks from Moto Workshop on the show. They were fantastic. That was a really fun episode.
Yep.
And I backed them 100%. I got the full Kickstarter, which was the original giant killer robots. It's called GKR Heavy Hitters, the full name of the game. The huge box with the 4 factions in it, all those cool buildings, as well as the Kickstarter stretch goal stuff, which included a bunch of little bonus things that are mostly fluffy. And loved the game when I got it back in like January, February, whenever I finally got it. We had a great time with it at Adepticon. We recorded a live, play session that appeared in one of the episodes. So really enjoying GKR. And so I'm walking into the vendor hall, and sure enough, there's Weta Workshop with their full-size booth going on there. And they've got 2 new expansions for GKR. So now I bought these things, and everybody's been asking me about them. And in fact, thank you, Ian. Ian asked me right off the bat here in the chat room, one of our patrons here, how was GKR and the new expansion? So still loving GKR. It's fantastic. There were 2 expansions there for it. And for those who aren't familiar, giant killer robots, real quick on the fluff. It's the far future. Humanity's built much cooler, much more impressive cities that are just wonderful. And all these old cities like old Detroit, old New York, old Chicago, old LA, they're all just basically abandoned ruins. And so they got to be knocked down. Now, instead of doing some boring thing and using a bulldozer on them, all these various companies are bidding for the contract to knock them down and build new stuff. And so someone thought, it'd be great. Let's turn this into a giant spectator robot combat sport. And so the factions are all corporate sponsored things that go in there, and they try to tag the buildings for their own sponsorship, meanwhile beating each other up with big guns.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of fun. It's a great game. What I like, the really interesting mechanic here is mostly the fact that your deck of cards, and by the way, the models are amazing. The models are museum quality. It's Weta Workshop. So they're pre-painted, pre-decaled. They look fantastic. They're about like 6 to 8 inches tall, each these things. And you can see them online. Go to GKR. It's gkrgame.com to see pictures of all this crazy stuff. So anyway, game's great. They had 2 expansions. The first expansion was Sweet and Salty, which introduced 2 new factions, a pink and a purple, one sponsored by a sugar manufacturing company and one sponsored by a food company that's more savory, the salty one. And they're great. I got that box. Now, someone asked me, does it include the ability to play 6 players? No. The game is still a 4-player game. And in fact, in the Sweet and Salty expansion, there are not enough additional player mats or anything to play more than 4 players. So you're still going to be playing 4 players. What this does is it gives you 2 new factions. So you get 2 new GKRs, giant killer robots, beautifully built, beautifully painted. They look amazing, along with their 3 support units. So for those unfamiliar, GKR's got these giant robots, but then each giant robot has 3 unique sculpted little mini support bots, 1 flyer, 1 repair bot, and 1 little combat unit. They're all different depending on the faction. And so these 2 new factions also have those, and they also have complete decks of cards, because one of the core mechanics of the game is that your deck is your life. So when your deck is completely depleted, you're dead. But it also is all the weapons you use. And what's really cool about the game is you have more cards than you can possibly field in a given game. So there's a deck building mechanic where you're basically equipping your mech. So you can pick a primary weapon from like 4 different primary weapons for each faction, and you can pick 2 secondary weapons from like 6 or 7 secondary weapons for each mech. So really a lot of flexibility. That's one of the magic parts of this game. Not only do you have 6 factions, but you have complete flexibility in each mech as well. That really changes their play style. So these 2 new ones are awesome. And my daughter's playing them. My oldest daughter, we just played today. Actually, my oldest daughter loves the purple one. Fantastic. It's got a cool new rule in it too, which I like. One of the cards, their weapons, when you shoot a mech with this one, Craig, if you hit, you can hit an adjacent building with the weapon on a 5+, and everybody next to it takes the damage. So the building bits of building fall under it, which is pretty cool. So the expansion box is great, but it doesn't expand the number of players. Just gives you 2 new, more options, and they look cool. The other expansion was Urban Wasteland. Now, this one's really interesting. So Urban Wasteland is it's much more of a component upgrade expansion than actually rules mechanic expansion. First of all the buildings are upgraded to plastic.
Oh, I noticed that in your Twitter.
Yeah. So
gorgeous.
Yeah, so they come with the original one had cardboard buildings that were, if you remember, assembling it was kind of a pain in the butt. You had to wrap them around the base and stick the top in them. What's nice about them being cardboard is they're all colored, so they look neat.
Yeah.
But these new ones, they all come with beautiful plastic buildings. They come with new tops and new bases, and the new top has an additional slot for a little topper, and it comes with a bunch of the corporate logo toppers from the game. They have no game rules on them, but they just look cool. They add a little more color to the game. So you look at my Twitter feed, you'll see those. The buildings are easily paintable. I haven't done that yet. And it also comes with a bunch of really cool decals for the billboards that are on the building. So you can really make these things pop now. Right. There are some new rules. So it also comes with the components. You can now, as the game plays, you can tag buildings, which means you put your little billboards on the roof, and there's little slots to put them in there. Now you can put sentry turrets on the roof. So each faction can put their little colored sentry turrets up there, which blast the enemies during your turn. Little bummer, though, they do not include sentry turrets for the 2 new factions. So you missed the trick there. So this is only for the core game 4 factions that can do this. And it also comes with a brand new GKR that is neutral and sits in the middle of the table, and you can get a corporate sponsor card and take control of it for a turn, which is kind of neat. So I would say most of this, and it also comes with a bunch of clear translucent tag tokens to replace your old ones. Mm-hmm. So this one really, Urban Wasteland, is only for the hardest core of hardcore GKR fans, because there's not really a lot of more mechanics in there. It's just it's a component upgrade. It upgrades your buildings, and it gives you clear translucent stuff, and it gives you just one neutral mech, which you don't. It's cute, but you don't really need it. So I would say if you're a GKR fan, I would definitely get Sweet and Salty, because they look great, and they give you more variety, and you're going to love the two new mechs. Plus, they're a little more feminine color, which if you have female players in your group, they might really get into that. Meanwhile, the urban upgrade is really just if you're a game blinger. These are not cheap. This game is not cheap. It's what a workshop. It's a collectible, basically. Think about it that way. It's also kind of hard to get because you're generally getting a ship from New Zealand. So when you see it at a con like that, I snapped up all the stuff. They had a little special going on too. So I loved it. I'm really pleased with it. My daughters love it. We hadn't had a chance to play it yet with them. I've been playing with my gamery friends. And when I bought it at Gen Con, my daughter's like, "What is that? How come you haven't shown that to us?" I'm like, "Oh, well, let's go play this." And they had a blast with it today. So we're going to play it again tomorrow. So GKR, I do like Sweet and Salty expansion, and Urban Wasteland is just if you're really a bling guy.
Right.
All right, Craig, what's your next one?
My next one is a lot simpler, and that would be 2 years ago. Listeners might remember the game The Hand of the King, which was a very simple tile laying or tile manipulating game set in King's Landing. So another Song of Ice and Fire by Fantasy Flight. They had the play test there. I was wandering around the vendor hall 2 years ago, couldn't find anybody to talk to. The art is very cartoony and kind of tongue in cheek and sort of as lighthearted as a Song of Ice and Fire art can get. And it was every one of these tiles is a different character from the books. And so they finally had it. They didn't have it last year. I think you can find it online, but usually wherever you find it that's online is sold out. They had it in the Fantasy Flight store. I actually waited in line for like a half an hour just so I could buy this, and I loved it just as much as I did at the demo. It's a great game where you have Varys, and Varys is the only part that's going to move. So you shuffle up all these tokens or all these tiles, then you lay them out in a 6x6 grid. And they've all got the houses that they belong to. And when it's your turn, all you're going to do is you're going to say whether Varys is going up, down, left, or right along the grid and what house he's targeting. And every character from that house that he passes over as he goes all the way across the row, just like a rook, until he gets to the last member of that house in the row, he takes all those. And for as long as you have the most number of people from that house, you have that banner. And the game ends when Varys can't move. And then whoever has the most banners wins. And whenever you finish up a house, you get to choose one of these 6 companions that are other characters from the books that are on the side. And you basically get to choose those, and they give you some kind of advantage in the game that allows you to sort of manipulate other players or the terrain of the board and things like that. So it's a very simple game, very fast game, but I loved it when I play tested or when I demoed it years ago, and I'm super happy to have it now. I really, really enjoyed it. And we got to play it once, Russ. What did you think?
I liked it a lot. It was great. It was it's fast, it's fun, but it's thinky.
It is,
which I really liked it a lot. It's a great abstract game. I really like it, Craig. It's a good one.
Oh, thank you. What about you, Ross?
Well, so here's one I did not expect. It's Princess Jing. Princess Jing. So Princess Jing is a 2-player game. I'm looking at it right now, and it is an interesting game. It looks if you glance at it really quickly, it looks like Stratego with really cool pieces of cardboard.
Okay.
So with double-sided Stratego cardboard. So you know how it's Stratego, if you remember the game, you got a bunch of tiles that are standing on their end like little dominoes, and you can see your stuff, but your opponent can't. So think about like checkers, but you don't know what the pieces do because you can't see your opponent's stuff.
Right.
So think of a game like that, but instead of dominoes, they're little cardboard like screens, almost like screens you get dressed behind, in feudal Japan, and they're double-sided with slots on them. And these screens can have things hiding behind them on either side. So the goal of this game is it's a room full of these screens, and each player is controlling a princess. Now the princess has fallen madly in love with a guard from the opposing faction, and she must sneak her way across the board and get to the correct guard. Now the problem is across the board are 3 different guards, and and my opponent is trying to do the same thing with his princess, and I got 3 different guards too. So the tricky bit is, first of all, you got to figure out which guard is the guard the princess is trying to get to. You want to get your princess too. Now, behind these various screens, you have several different components. The first thing you have is a princess. Then you also have a disguised princess, and these are all little colorful pieces that are slightly different. And then you have 2 little spirit animals out of a set of like 6 different spirit animals. So you might have a fox, you might have an owl, you might have a chipmunk or something. And then your opponent has similar things. Now, when you're setting the game up, only 2 of the 6 spirit animals are somewhere on your side of the board, and he has the same thing. You also have a little card that tells you which of the guards on the other side of the board is the one you love based on the spirit animals you can find. So the first thing you have to do is figure out what the spirit animals your opponent has behind his screens. What the coolest part of this game is the extra piece you have is you have 2 pieces, which are little guys holding a real mirror up. It's a real little piece of reflective glass, and it's facing you. So what you can do is you take this screen, and you can, during your turn, you can switch 2 screens on the board spots, but you can't spin them around or look at them or anything. But when you do, when you move the one that's a mirror, because it's a mirror, you can see the back of the piece it's in front of, right? So as you move these pieces, you're eventually able to spot, oh, I see there is a little fox spirit animal. So you have to mentally remind yourself, okay, I've seen a fox. And then later, if you can use your mirror to find a, owl, you now know that the one you love is the fox owl. So you look in your card, you figure out which piece it is, and now you got to try to move your princess across the board and get next to that guy. But of course, your opponent's trying to do the same thing. And if your opponent can point and identify the piece where your princess is, she has to run away and get sent back to the front row. So really interesting game, really interesting mechanics. Rose and I played it, my oldest daughter, and we both really enjoyed it. And I thought it was neat, and then she was talking to her sister about it for like the whole day. It's how much she enjoyed it. Thought it was really cool. She'd love her to play it. And Kit, her younger sister, came up to me and goes, "Dad, it's her birthday. She seemed to really like this game. Can I get it for her?" I was like, "Sure." So we got it. It's really cool. The components are wonderful. The art style is beautiful. The little spirit animals, everything about it is really, really well crafted. It's one of those great games. It's kind of like the next level of an abstract game you might have around your house. It's just a really wonderful game that I think anyone of any age would enjoy, but particularly families. So definitely check this one out. Princess Jing. That's Jing.
It looked gorgeous in the demo table.
Yeah, it really did. What do you got next, Craig?
Next, I would I'm going to go straight to the end with. I didn't do a lot. I got a lot of terrain.
Okay. No, it's better to be focused.
And so we'll talk about demos in a minute. But the last game that I bought was, believe it or not, The Incredibles Save the Day game.
Ooh.
And I just tweeted that out today. And I really I had it recommended to me by Aaron at Battle Foam, because he has a son that's just a little bit younger than Reese. And it's by Wonder Forge Games, who had a bunch of stuff. That was the same booth as Villainous. I don't know if they're the same company that did Villainous, but I think they might be, because Disney. And it's a very children's game. It's for 6 and up, but it's great. There's a fun little game there. So basically, if you are familiar with either, well, both movies is better, but The Incredibles, you've got the city is in a really cool 3D looking map. It's not 3D, but it looks 3D. And there's lots of different zones, and the zones are actually pop out, and they're printed on both sides. And you have a deck of cards, and that deck of cards has a Frozone might come in and help you. I think her name is Edna, the fashion woman, might come in and help you find Jack the baby. Otherwise, it's all bad stuff. Either roads crumble, so you're not going to be able to get from point A to point B as easily, or one of the many bad guys over the course of both films might show up, and that tells you which zone to flip over, and now that zone is active, and there's a skill that's required to get rid of that bad guy and take care of that situation. And of course, each one of the four main characters in the family are better at, the one's better at defense, the girl that does the force fields, the dad's good at strength, the kid's very good at speed, and the mom's good at versatility. And you've got, each character has their own die, and their die is biased towards their skill plus a wild. And so you've got a 50-50 chance of successfully fixing something that's wrong that's within your skill set, or a 2 in 6 chance if it's not, unless you can find Jack somewhere on the board, and he's constantly teleporting all over the place also. So even if you have him, suddenly he can just teleport away on you, and you get to use his die, and his die is actually biased towards wilds, because of course he's wild, he can do all kinds of different stuff. And so it's very simple, and what's happening is there's a time track, and these bad cards are stacking up, and as you fix them, they get flipped over face down, and then if that face down card bumps to the end, you're okay, you're fine. But if ever a face up card tracks down to the end, then the game's over and you've lost. So it's a co-op, and you're trying to basically beat the game, and you're trying to beat the time, the timer that's built into the game with the speed dice, because you're rolling a die that's going to tell you how fast you go, and that will also tell you whether or not to activate one of the alarm cards, and that's how all this other wacky stuff happens. So it's very simple, but we got into it. I mean, we really got into how fun it was. There were some stand-up moments. We thought we'd totally won the game, and then Jack teleported away. You have to have no bad guys on the board and Jack in your possession, and the game's over and you've won. But we had everything going for us. You have to roll the movement die, even if you're not going to move. So Reese rolled the movement die, and he got the signal, and that was bad. We flipped it, and it was Jack teleports away. So he solved the problem he was sitting on, but now we didn't have Jack. He was all the way across the city. We had to go over there. So it is a great kids game. It was a lot of fun. Really enjoyed it.
Excellent. Great choice. So I have to talk about this game now. It's a little awkward, but first, before I do that, so Kelly has a great question here, Craig. Did either of us get Adeptus Titanicus?
Well, that's a good question. I was hoping it was going to be there. I had all kinds of rationale for why I thought GW was going to do this amazing reveal at Gen Con. It was going to be this huge thing, and they did not. To the point where they even had their people in the booth sort of hinting that something big was going to happen on Saturday, and it didn't. So that was odd. And then, of course, just yesterday, the price released, and it's $290 for the Grandmaster edition, which if you're going to get into it, you kind of have to do that, because to not do that, it's a deal. It's $390 retail worth of stuff for $290.
Yeah. Yes, Ian.
It's not going to be a cheap game. It's $290, Ian.
Yeah, you heard that right.
So that's roughly what I expected. It's not what I hoped, and it's not what I feared, but as it's what I expected, I don't think I can justify jumping into it at $290. There's nobody around me who's like super eager and wants to jump in that I'm going to want to play with all the time. Like our friend Matt got one. He's one of the hosts of 40K Radio. He got a Titan in the rule book. So we were hoping that maybe they would send us a Titan in a rule book, and then we could play the game and at least tell you guys how it played. They did not. They're sending us all the kid games that they just released. The Space Marine Adventure and the Blood Bowl Light and the Lord of the Rings little mini game. So locally, like the only way we're going to be able to play really is to get this, and it's $110 for one Titan. If you're going to buy the Titan loose, it's $60 for the rule book and all of the gubbins that you need to play the game. So you're talking about $170 just for one Titan and the rules. And if you get the $290, then you're getting some terrain, not a lot, not as much as they made it look like in the earlier publicity photos, which was a disappointment to me because, me and terrain. But you get 6 knights. You get 2 warlord titans. You get some of the terrain. You get cool objectives. You get all of the rules and the gubbins and everything. So it's retail wise, it's a great deal. It is also a limited edition. Once they're sold out, they're not going to make them again. They said before 2019, but I don't think they're ever going to. I mean, that's their history. Even the good new GW is if we get a lightning in a bottle home run, yay, then we're going to break up the set and sell it individually. So you have to spend it that way. So, I mean, if you really want it, and it's something that you're going to have people to play it, I would highly recommend it. It looks like it's going to be gorgeous. Our friend Matt looked through the rule book. He said it's really crunchy, but in a neat way. And the rules seem to be very simple. I think probably 10 or 20 pages of rules. But for $290, being a hit or miss kind of thing where Russ would play it with me once or twice maybe, and Matt would play it with me, and we're getting a lot of pushback locally. Guys are like, no, I play these 2 games and that's it, which really doesn't work well with my addiction problem. So I'm doing my best to avoid. Yeah, I think you got 8 warlords in the original set, Ian, not to put too fine a point on it. But yeah, so I think I'm going to let it go. I might have people who have gone to big conventions know it's easier to spend money when you're at the big convention. So I probably would have got it for $290 at Gen Con. Now that I've had time to reflect and look more at what comes for $290, I don't think. Now I've gone back, look at what happened with Legion. Look what happened with Song of Fire.
We talked about this though, Craig. Song of Ice and Fire for that same price. Think about what you get. I mean, it's not even
in the Kickstarter, $150 got us 2 very extensive armies with some depth of choice and all kinds of other cool stuff.
I mean, that makes GKR look cheap. Yeah, and GKR is pre-painted by Weta Workshop, 4 players, everything you need to play. I mean,
for $290, that was the double deal. I believe
get GKR and the expansions for that. I mean, that's
one of them. For 2, it was $350, so not even much more. You get all 3 expansions. That's a lot. I think they did their old-fashioned Cadillac price.
Well, they're gonna every hardcore people are gonna get it, and they're gonna end the print run. That's why it's a one-time thing.
Yeah, exactly. So the short answer is no.
No. Well, it wasn't out anyway. Even if we wanted to drop that kind of money, we couldn't.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
All right. So one of the ones I wanted to talk about is my favorite find. This is the one I didn't really expect at all, which was, by the way, if anybody else has any questions in the chat room, go into the question.
Feel free.
This is fun. So Orphans and Ashes, the game of strategic orphan burning. This game, it's
long.
It's basically a game
all the right ways.
Yeah, you got to have the right mindset to go into a game about orphans on fire. But it's set in the Looking for Group universe. That's a webcomic that some folks might be familiar with. It's very, very popular. And so the Looking for Group folks were there. They had all their artwork out, and they were selling their anthology books. And they had this game there called Orphans and Ashes. And it's sort of like a little progressive dungeon exploring game, except basically the premise is the orphanage is on fire. And the intrepid heroes from Looking for a Group need to go in and rescue some orphans. And this actually appeared in one of their earlier strips. So it's based on an event that actually happened that they covered at one point. So for those who aren't familiar with Looking for a Group, the characters are, the main character is this sort of a heroic elf guy, but he's kind of a dimwit, but his heart's in the right place. And then you have Richard, who is a spell casting sort of evil guy. And then you have he's definitely evil. I mean, it's pretty clear. And then you have a cleric, and her name's escaping me, and a cat. And so in the base game, you get just 2 guys. What's that?
I just went to looking for group for the first time ever, and there's little mini spin-off comics, and I'm not even going to say what the name of it is, but the spin-off comic of young Richard, then just the name is
yes.
The writing is awesome. The writing of the rule book, the game Russ is talking about, is awesome. It's just phenomenal.
The humor's built in. The looking for group guys are very witty. If you're not familiar with this webcomic, do yourself a favor, go check it out. They're wonderful. But anyway, so the premise of this game is the orphanage is on fire, and players have to go into the orphanage, and you have these cool little miniatures. And they didn't spare the horses on the miniatures, but it cost them the quality of the tile. So basically, you go into the tile. There's a tile laying game, so you're going to basically go into the entrance of the orphanage. You got the elf, you got Richard. Now the elf's trying to get to the orphans and pull them out of the fire and get them and rescue them, right? And what's really cool about the components is you got the 2 hero models. Then you have all these little orphan models, and they're 3D little plastic orphans with their arms in the air, their faces, their lives. But there's also these little plastic yellow circles of fiery flames coming up on the side, and you can snap them into the bases so the flames look like they're wrapping around the base and looking at the little orphans or heroes' feet. And you snap these in, and each fire that's snapped into your base is basically a lost hit point. The fire also spreads through the orphanage in a very exciting way. Now, lest you think this is a co-op game, oh no, because each player is going to score. Now, every time the fire burns and kills an orphan, it scores a point. Now, if the fire ends the game with the most points, the fire wins. Meanwhile, the elf gets a point for every orphan he rescues. Meanwhile, Richard, his job is to harvest the innocent souls of the orphans. Now, he has a special power called Foosh, which basically shoots a different kind of colored fire than the fire. He shoots red fire. Meanwhile, the orphanage is on fire with yellow fire. So he's got his own little red fire tokens. So Richard can set orphans on fire with his own color and then kill them that way. And if Richard manages to kill an orphan with his own color, he harvests the soul. That's how he gets points. But the trick is he can't do it while any other hero can see him. So Richard has got to get into a position where nobody can see him to kill the orphans. Meanwhile, you've got the cat, who you have to roll before the game starts, and the cat may be in a good mood and rescuing orphans, or the cat may be eating orphans for points because cat. And he's like a almost like a little puma. Mm-hmm. And then the cleric, she's a mercenary cleric in the comics. So basically, she's got cool components. She's got these cool like little green shields that snap into the bases that protect models. Mm-hmm. But the way she sources points is she can put shields on the characters or on the orphans, and every time that shield defends somebody from fire, she gets points. So she'll actually, there's an ability in the game called Guide where you can actually, for one of your activations, move another character or orphan around. So she'll actually like shield an orphan and then guide him to walk back and forth. You fire 6 times just to score points. So it's a very silly game. You got to play it with that sort of attitude. But there's a surprising amount of little strategy hiding in there. There's a lot of die rolling as well. But the figure components are great. Mm-hmm. The tile components are not so much. You can tell where they spent their money. And because figures are so kind of pricey, and these are still bendy board game figures, don't get me wrong. Oh, one more thing I should add is that my favorite rule in the game is that for the hero to rescue orphans, you can stack as many orphans on the little model as you can get on him. So his arms are rigged in such a way they're up. So you can jam orphans into his arms, you can jam them between his legs. Any way you can jam orphans onto the elf is fine. But if during the elf's turn, any orphan falls off the model for any reason during his turn, the orphan dies in the fire and the fire scores a point.
And Russ has learned that he should not play this game as that character after a Mai Tai.
Yes, exactly. So it's wonderful. There are 2. The only problem with it is kind of pricey. I think the base game's $40 for 2 of the characters, which is a lot for this kind of a game, but you get a lot of models in there. Yeah. And then the expansion, which you definitely want to get, which includes the other 2 heroes, I want to say is another 30. And then they have another expansion, which adds an attic, which is like these 3D wooden bits that actually add a second story, which can also catch on fire and then collapse on top of the first story, which is pretty hilarious also. But that makes it pretty pricey. I, like an idiot, got it all, and I don't really regret it at all, but it's a little... If I was, again, to Craig's point, if I wasn't in the con-fevered moment, I probably would have been a little more conservative and not bought the attic. Mm. But if you're any kind of looking for group game, this is a must-own. What it did for us was it got us into looking for group. I wasn't familiar with them before this, and my daughter fell in love with it. She kind of likes evil characters. Fell in love with Richard, and so we ended up picking up a couple of their anthologies as well, because the comics wonderfully drawn and really wonderfully written. The writing for Richard in particular is off the charts, and they have a bunch of other spin-off comics now too. So really enjoyed that for both the find of the game and also the find of looking for group.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else on your list, Craig?
Looking for group is awesome.
Isn't it? Go back to the very beginning and start.
That's what I am.
Yes, it is awesome. Yeah, Rose has the whole anthology now, so you want to look through it.
That's crazy. Okay, so let's talk about some demos. First, let's talk a little bit about since we're talking about Weta, why don't we talk about District 9?
Oh, District 9, yeah. So Weta is
surprise. We knew nothing about this.
Hadn't heard about this. So I guess Weta was pretty pleased with how GKR did. Because GKI was their first ever board game. I think everybody knows Weta Workshop's a special effects company. They got their start with Lord of the Rings, they would before that, but that's really where they came to fruition. But they've been doing a lot of things, including they did all the special effects and props for District 9 as well. So now they're doing a District 9 board game. And Craig and I got to play one of the prototypes. This was definitely proof of concept. But the cool thing about Weta Workshop is because they're this amazing studio that produces all kinds of things and has amazing 3D printers, they can create prototypes that look pretty darn good. So this prototype, if you squinted slightly, it looked like a production copy of a game. So Craig, you want to describe what it looked like on the table?
Well, it is District 9. So it's this this refugee camp kind of area as seen from above. And it's divided into different areas. And the cool thing that I thought, the concept of the game, is that the game takes place over the 3 days the movie takes place over. So the movie is taking place in and around you while you're doing your thing, which would have been happening in the background of the movie for real. And so your different factions and the aliens are being dispossessed and kicked out of District 9, and you're going in just like Vicus did in the movie, and you're kind of like looking for alien technology as they're getting evicted. So one of your actions is eviction, which means you go in, and if there's a little hut with some technology there, you can kick the prawn, the aliens, out of that hut, and you flip over the loot token, and it's sort of abstracted. The loot is just loot. It's victory points and threat, basically. Because as you flip it over, it'll tell you not only how many prawn appear in that space, but also whether or not they attack you. So the thing that I thought was great, sometimes the prawn attack, sometimes they don't. Sometimes they're a threat, sometimes they're not. And so you're kind of like maneuvering your way through this massive maze of a refugee location, and the designer was giving us the demo, and his tongue-in-cheek commentary throughout was just hilarious. And because he kept reminding, now just to remind you, these are like completely innocent creatures that have done nothing to you that you're kicking out of their home. Okay, moving on. Oh, you just got a bunch of victory points, but that was for shooting innocent bystanders. Okay. And so it was very, very funny. I thought it did a great job of capturing the movie, and there's lots of characters from the movie that sort of appear as non-player characters inside the game, and at different times, different players are going to have control of them, and they're going to do different things, and sometimes they might steal stuff, and sometimes they might shoot you, and sometimes they might shoot prawn, and it that just gave a whole sort of another level of interaction of what's going on the board. So. And the models looked gorgeous. The prawn, I think, were my favorite thing. They were color coded, and there were three different kinds. There's 1, 2, and 3. So one stand of one prawn, a stand of 2 prawns, and a stand of 3 prawns. Because as they pop up and generate in these areas, you're just going to have more and more of them. I think there was a max of 6 in any one area, but And they looked awesome. Sadly, they were 3D printed and they were falling apart and breaking as they went. You could just see it was breaking. It was tearing the guy apart who was doing the demo. But then on top of that, you've got soldiers for your faction, and the factions were mercenaries and the United Nations stand-in for that world. And they actually, Weta Workshop allowed them to create a prawn faction, the prawn engineers. So if you look at the Twitter pictures that Russ and I put out there, there's one awesome vehicle that looks like it's half a pickup truck or half a station wagon armored by just bolting car doors all over it. And then the back half is a couple wheels, but the front half are all these slapped together claws as it drags itself along the ground. And that killed me. And that's how I ended that demo. But, it was a blast, and all of your equipment and your people and everything on your truck. So your truck is basically your character, and all the upgrades on that are your hit points. So as you're getting damaged, you're shedding all of your cool stuff. And the loot that's your hit point, that's your victory points as you go. I thought they did a great. And the demo was only day 2, so we got day 3 explained to us a little bit, and day 1 explained to us. But you kind of see the meat of the game in that day 2 demo, which I thought was great. Well, what are some of your thoughts, Russ? I think I just dominated that conversation.
No, I had the same feelings. One thing we should mention: day 3, a giant robot drops down.
That is true. Well, first, a giant ship drops down and kills everything in the middle of the board.
Right.
Then drops off a giant robot, and then you're fighting the giant robot.
Yeah. It was great. I love the components. I love where they're going directionally with the look and feel of the game. I like how it worked. There was a nice screw your neighbor component. They're still playtesting. The end game mechanic of the 2 characters meeting in the middle was cool. Or I guess end day mechanic. I guess it really is, because I got the feeling there's different mechanics that end each day, right?
Yeah, I think so.
But I worry that one could drag on forever. Like, if there's no requirement, as far as I could tell, to make them go towards each other, you can move any direction you want. So if you're a player who wants to end it early to get it to end quickly, you'd go one way. So I always get nervous about mechanics that provide for an endless game. So, but I know it's still early days too. So maybe I'm misunderstanding how that works. But the fluff wise, oh my gosh, they really nailed it. I think there's a good one here coming. And if you're a District 9 fan, definitely watch this. And if GKR is any example, the components are going to be crazy, crazy good.
Yeah.
So, and this Kickstarter is starting soon. Like, they're kickstarting it, and it was like next month or something. So if you are a District 9 fan, keep an eye out for What a Workshop. I'm sure they'll be announcing shortly. We'll retweet it in our Twitter feed when it comes out. But yeah, keep an eye out for the District 9 Kickstarter.
Yeah, it looked great.
So the last one I wanted to talk about, kind of a funny story about this. So Western Legends. So my daughter and I were being very methodical about going through the vendor hall. And so my oldest daughter, my youngest daughter and my wife are more like, they flit around. And so we kind of split up usually. So they go all over the place, where Rose and I are like, we're going to do each row in order, very cool. So when we see a demo, we stop and demo it. And so it takes us a day just to get through a quarter of the vendor hall pretty much. So by the end of day 2, we got to the last row, or pretty much the last row. And we came across this little tiny booth with a game called Western Legends, which the Kickstarter had just delivered, and they had them there at the con. And it was the first time it was seen other than Kickstarter backers. And it's this pretty good sized box game. And he's got an amazing board, really well drawn, of like a couple Western towns on a Western sort of Mesa Old West. And these great little miniatures, board game quality miniatures of various, Old West cowboys and cowgirls there, along with some great looking tokens, and just really great art on the cards. And you can tell he's got a little rack that comes in the game for all the cards to hold them for a little general store. And so, I asked the guy, my daughter and I kind of talking to him, because she and I both like the Old West and both like cowboys. And there still aren't that many good cowboy games. I mean, there really aren't. He started describing it to us, and it's kind of like, when I first started describing it to my fellow gamers, as I started thinking about getting this, was Legend of Zaya meets the Old West. So it's basically sort of like a little mini RPG. You're taking your character and you're going trying to make a name for yourself. And all the characters you started dealt by a character that's a historical character. So it might be Doc Holliday or Jesse James or Billy the Kid or Annie Oakley or whoever, right? And they have a certain ability that's unique to them. It's funny, Doc Holliday, he starts off sick, which is pretty cool. But then after that, you can go any direction you want. You can become an outlaw and become wanted. You can become a lawman and become a marshal. You can become a miner for gold. And whatever you do, you can become a gambling carouser. Whatever you do, you start to gain legend points, right? You can become a cattle rustler, or you can become you can be a real cowboy and escort the cows to the train station to make money for the rancher, right? You can do whatever you want, basically. What ends up happening, which is great, is so everybody starts out doing their own little thing. I'm over here playing Annie Oakley, and I'm trying to go out and do a little something. Meanwhile, my daughter has decided she's going to be evil, and so she's like trying to rob the bank. And she's semi-successfully. It's hilarious. She fails to rob the bank, so she gets kicked out. So then she goes and works at the bank to make $10 to go rob it again next term. It's pretty funny. Meanwhile, I'm trying to set up a whole, I've bought myself a mule, and you can buy items. And what I really like about this game is the general store is a bunch of items, and the items all from one side of the card look generic. So there's a little deck of mules you can buy, a little deck of Mustangs you can buy, there's a deck of rifles and pistols, and there's all kinds of things. But when you own them, once you put it on your board and you own it, you have a little player mat, you can spend the cost again to upgrade it. And when you upgrade it, you flip the card over and look at the back for the first time. And on the back, it's a named item. So you might all of a sudden now have Betsy the rifle, like Davy Crockett had, or you might have, Spitfire, the shotgun, or whatever you've got. And same too for the horses and everything else. And they get a special ability. But the thing that's cool is you don't know when you upgrade the card what it's going to be. Because you just bought the gun off the shelf and you took it to a gunsmith and you end up doing something cool with it. So that's a pretty neat mechanic. So meanwhile, I'm upgrading my horse. I'm trying to get a better mule, doing this thing. And all of a sudden, so in the beginning, we're kind of not really messing with each other. And then my daughter looks over and she's wanted, and you get these sort of legend points, which are victory points for being really, really wanted badly by the sheriff, or you get legend points for being a famous lawman, or you get legend points for selling lots of gold in town because you become a legendary miner. You can get legend points for carousing in the bar. So Craig, meanwhile, is there's actually a mini poker game that's literally poker that happens in the middle of the game.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, Craig's trying to go gamble and then go carouse and then go gamble and then go carouse, which is great.
Yeah. It didn't work.
Although to limited success, which basically don't gamble, kids, is what we learned there.
That's right. Gambling is bad, okay?
Gambling's bad. But my daughter at this point's watching, and she's like, wait a minute, you're coming back from this gold mine with like the maximum gold nuggets you can carry. I'm like, yeah. She goes, I'm going to go rob you. I'm like, wait, no, you're not robbing. She's like, yeah, I am. So then you got to change your strategy. And like, I got to have the right card. So all of a sudden I'm buying rifles and I'm defending against outlaws, which is her. So it's a really fun game. It really captures, we loved it. We played it once. I bought a copy with both expansions because Gen Con. And so we played it once in the hotel. And my wife played it, Rose played it, I played it. My youngest daughter wasn't feeling well, so she laid in the bed, and Craig played it with us. Yeah. And we all, I don't know how you felt, Craig, but my wife and Rose and I all loved it. We're going to play it again this weekend. We just fell in love with it immediately. What I liked about it, too, is it didn't take too terribly long, which is good because sometimes games like this go forever. And we set it up, poked all the pieces out, learned it, and played it inside 2 hours, which I thought was pretty solid.
Say that the timer mechanic for the game is basically you can pick how many victory points you want to end at.
Right, exactly.
We picked a very early. It reminded me almost of Spartacus, like that you can kind of choose how long the game's going to be. And we went to like 10, and I believe the track goes to 50. So in that mindset, you could probably play this game for 10 hours if you wanted to. But I thought it was awesome. I enjoyed it immensely, and I think my favorite part of the game was how many paths to victory there were. Mm-hmm. Like how many different things were completely valid. How many, like just among the four of us, each of us had four totally different strategies. Right. Rose was totally going in for being a badass, and she was going to be a bad guy, and she was getting all her points from being an outlaw. And then Nicole like sort of followed in her footsteps after the fact and was trying to play catch up there. I was trying to gamble and just could not make it work for the life of me because your daughter's just too good at poker, which is something I would worry about if I were you. Right? And then Russ takes the least interesting path to victory of all, gets himself a mule and heads off into the countryside. And every one of them, I mean, when all is said and done, I mean, I was like in the way back mainly because of luck, but I mean, it wasn't like it was a walk away by any stretch of the imagination. And it was Rose and Nicole really neck and neck right at the end there, if I remember correctly.
Yep, it was.
With different strategies. And I think that's very hard to pull off in a game where you can approach the game totally different in different ways, every player doing something totally different. And yet at the same time, if you're successful within that path that you've chosen, that it's not like, oh yeah, you have to go combat, or oh yeah, you got to have to rob that bank. And we saw the bank sometimes didn't work. The poker sometimes didn't work. If a couple of those poker hands had played out, I would have been in a totally different situation. So if it hadn't been the game you already bought, I think I probably would have picked it up. Except that I think anytime I'm probably going to be playing it, you're going to be there. So I'm trying not to duplicate that kind of thing as much as I used to.
It's fair. Yeah. Here's the deal. You get Song of Ice and Fire.
I got it.
And I'll buy this one little board game.
Yeah, sounds like a plan.
But I'm going to paint them. Rose and I are already talking about painting the Cowboys up.
Very cool.
The models are great. And I went through the expansion, and Craig, what the expansion does is it gives you one of the expansions gives you 6 more bandits, and there's stickers on the bottom, so it makes all the bandits unique.
Oh, cool.
So there's a cattle rustler bandit, all these little things. It's cool. There's a lot to like there. If you're a fan of the Old West, and you like sort of these. It's kind of like, it reminds me a little, Merchant and Marauder-esque a little bit too, right? You can do different things to get your victory points. One of those kind of games, that open world. I guess open world board game is kind of the best way to describe it. If you like that genre and you like the Old West, this is solid. And I love, to Craig's point, how you can control the game length. So you can play a nice quick one. You can play an all Saturday afternoon jobby, or leave it set up all weekend and just have an epic saga. Whatever is your fancy. And it really, the flavor too on the cards, great flavor text, great historical stuff there. A lot to really like in the Western Legends.
Yep.
So, Craig, we're making this last mega-sode a mega-sode.
One more thing.
Yeah, go.
Because I played Oak and Iron. Mike and the guys at Flintlock or Firelock Games, they let me do a secret demo of their new small-scale fleet battle. Takes place during the age of piracy, just like their game Blood and Plunder. And I loved it. It looks really cool. It looks like a more streamlined version of Sales of Glory, with but not exactly the same at all. More like that's the scale the game is at. But it's very card driven, like the cards of that are the faction sort of interact with the ship cards, so that if you have a frigate and I have a frigate, you're British and I'm a pirate, our frigates will be different. They'll act differently. And it because those guys are so big into sailing and making that part a realistic part of the game, all that's incorporated in there. But at the same time, a lot of the command and control, there's really no command and control in Wings of Glory. A Sails of Glory, that whole part of the reality of fleet battles is not in there at all. These guys, if you're within a certain range of your ships, they have bonuses. You can go in a line, you can form a line of battle, and all of your attacks are better and stronger. So it was really great. Sadly, they had taken all their stuff. They kind of made an emergency game set to demo the game with, and they flew over to Ireland to do Beasts of War. And then on the way back, all of their ships broke. So that's why they weren't doing demos at Gen Con, which is what they were hoping to do demos of, because all the ships were just shattered. So they were just showing me with bits and pieces of ship. But it's going to be a Kickstarter. It's probably going to be the first Kickstarter I do in a year, probably will be this next game, because it looks really, really cool. And those guys do great rules with awesome models. So that literally was the last thing I play tested at Gen Con. So that's a legit hard end to my Gen Con experience.
Awesome. Well, there you have it. That was our the games we liked at Gen Con.
Yep.
Thanks for listening for another great episode. And we will be back with Pips coming later this month.
D6G Pips.
Pips.
Pips. This Did You Ever Notice is brought to you by everyone over at Patreon who joined us over the last gosh knows how many years to help us keep this show going. And as the show is still going, we'd like to thank you for continuing to help the show go in whatever direction it takes. And today, I'd like to close off this particular list with Joel, Jonathan, Travis, Douglas, Tony, Andrew, FlashoverArts.com, Benjamin, Jason, Mark, Stompy, Vincent, Gustav, Marcus, and Daniel. That completes the list of people who did not join as recently as maybe this last year. I'm going to have to find a new list if we keep this going. Do you ever notice how hard it is to figure out what's going on, especially when you don't know what's going on and you're the one who's supposed to know what's going on? That's where I am. I think that's where we all are. We are very excited to be continuing with the show in a new format, moving forward into the future. We've got all kinds of really cool ideas, and I think basically the way to think about this is, as Russ put it, we're pulling back from the mega-sodes, so to speak, but we're going to continue making content, and hopefully it'll be the content that interests us, and hopefully that content will interest you. And that way, with that going, with pulling back on the time constraints and the time demands from our families and such, we'll be able to move forward indefinitely. Would be great. And so in that end, I thought I would pull back the curtain a little bit and show you a little bit about the kinds of things that I've been thinking about, and to kind of help us schedule-wise so we don't have to constantly hit these regularly scheduled recording sessions. We're going to still try to do that, especially for the patrons. We are going to try to do an achievements in gaming, hopefully once a month, and people will be able to join us in that on the Patreon format like we've been doing. Hopefully more of you can do that because there'll be less of a time constraint. And then we'll be doing, for instance, the recording of playing a game, which is what we've been kind of toying with over the last couple of months or a few months now. We're going to try to make that into a regular segment where we, with a little more effort on focusing on the mechanics of the game. It's sort of like half a battle report and half not really a review or a tutorial on how to play the game, but give you an idea enough into the mechanics that you'll be able to follow along. Maybe tell if that game will be interesting to you or not, and give you at least a flavor of how it games in the style of actually playing the game. And we're hoping that we can put that together for the second half of August, that we'll be able to do one for Drop Fleet Commander. We continued to pick up more Drop Fleet Commander stuff at Gen Con. Sadly, they had their great convention prices going still. I was all excited, except that they didn't have any of the Post-Human Republic cruiser boxes, which is what I need to bring myself onto a par with what Russ already has access to. So I need to do that. And I did pick up a battleship. I think it was a battleship. Might have been a battle cruiser. So anyway, we're going to hopefully have a big game this week. We're going to record it, and we're going to make it into a pip. And that's the goal, is to have a couple, 2 or maybe even 3 if we get creative, of these pips a month, so that we're still creating content. We're still keeping in touch with you guys. And one thing that I was very surprised about, mainly because I'm probably just a person with very little self-confidence, is how many people have reached out and expressed a hope that the Did You Ever Notice won't go away. And that's great. And it was very nice of you guys to say. And I'm going to try to figure out how I can maybe squeeze one of these in every now and then also. If I've got something to say, I'm going to find a way to say it. And I might even try to find a way to say it in the format of a Did You Ever Notice? If not, I'm sure I'll get my opinions out there some other way and share with you the trials, tribulations, joys, etc. Many of what might have been a Did You Ever Notice could in fact be a full-fledged pip moving forward. I am thinking of doing an occasional segment on writing and sort of keeping tabs with where I am in whatever my current project is. My current project is editing the fantasy novel, I'll share you a little backstory right now. I don't know what this fantasy novel is called. I'm calling it Blood and Sand and Snow and Blood right now, and I don't like that. And this is a great thing for me because Vincent has been very honest in saying that he didn't really like it either, which is awesome because every now and then you want something like that in there so that you know, oh, I can trust these people. They tell me when they don't like something, so that when they tell me they like something, I can trust them. So that was good. So I call it the fantasy novel right now pretty much because A, I can't remember what order Sand and Snow and Blood fall into, and B, I never really liked it. That was the best I could come up with on the fly, and I'm liking it less and less with each passing moment. So looking for something that catches sort of a Sand and Snow and Blood theme, although maybe that's totally a different direction to go in. So anyway, I'm currently editing that, which means reading a novel that I wrote 2 years ago and editing it, and I'm hoping that as I move into it that I don't find giant chunks of it that I hate. I have several of my closest friends have read it and enjoyed it, but had some very good constructive criticism, so I'll be incorporating that, trying to clarify timelines and history and such like that. I did a good job with geography, but not such a good job with timelines, so I'm going to try to look into that. Another thing that I would love if I can do this, I don't know because it's extremely time consuming, which goes against everything we're trying to do here with the whole new generation of the new D6 generation, the D6, I don't know. Anyway, is the Model's Eye View battle report, or a sort of narrative intro to a gaming world like I did with Malifaux. So I did a War Machine Model's Eye View battle report years and years and years and years and years ago. In fact, I have since sold every model in that battle report. But I would love to do another one of those. I have all my notes so that I could do that Mega 40K battle that Russ and I had in Illinois a couple months ago. And I would love to do an extended narrative battle report like that. And with that in mind, I thought I would give you just a little bit of another peek. This particular peek is audio that I've been putting together. This is only one of the variations that we might go with, but I'm testing the idea of having individual bumpers for the various different things that we might try to wedge into this whole one pip structure. And without further ado, for the first time ever, here we go. MEB Model's Eye View Battle Report. And that is that's that. So that is the Model's Eye View Battle Report, or potentially the Model's Eye View Battle Report intro. So just kind of playing around with that, trying to keep things professional sounding and interesting for everybody. And of course, if those prove effective and fun and not too much work, we could do all kinds of Model's Eye View battle reports covering all kinds of different games. So that will be cool too. So this is not goodbye. It is not farewell. It is not adieu even. It is until next time. Thanks for listening, and good night.
Achievement unlocked! You've made it to the end of another D6 Generation episode, the podcast whose humor has universally been acclaimed as not too horrible. Please let us know what you thought of the show by either emailing us at info@the d6generation.com or by posting in our official D6G episode thread at the top of the DACA Discussions Forum on DACA.com. If for some inexplicable reason you actually enjoyed this show, you can help others find out about it by leaving positive reviews on iTunes. See you in 2 weeks. Thanks for listening, and happy gaming.
The theme from Total Fangirl comes from the soundtrack of The Last Night on Earth, the zombie game, courtesy of Flying Frog Productions, and is a composition of Mary Beth Magalanes.
I'm going to do a little level check here. Level. Craig, give me some noise.
So level.
Rafe.
Hello. Check one. Rafe's on the mic.
Nicole.
Hello.
And Mob. Well done, Mob. You guys are great. Awesome. All right, cool.
It's really good for 8 a.m.
That is a really good 8 a.m. Mob noise. I'm not going to lie.
Thank you all for taking time out of your busy 8 a.m. schedules.
And couple bits of thanks we want to give today for some folks who are joining us from the industry. Special thanks to Jeff Finkelstein, who obviously very famous game designer, as you all know, but also and member of Ludology and Dice Tower Network, but also donated our donuts this morning. So thank you, Jeff.
Oh, Jeff.
Huzzah!
Seppi Yoon is in the back there, fighting the box. Does some amazing games. So hi, Seppi. Thank you for coming out this morning. He's got some prizes in the prize pool over there, so thank you, Seppi.
Yay.
And then, of course, the podfather himself, Stephen Bonacore from Stronghold Games. Appearing on every podcast across the land pretty much, but he confided in us last episode that we were the very first podcast he was on.
Did he say first or favorite?
First. Both. That's what I heard.
You heard him.
Both. So thank you.
Of course,
Stephen.
he does have a hangover. So.
Yes.